When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Fred Meyer for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Fred Meyer, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
580 KIDO, welcome to the second day of fall, and of course the temperatures can relate to that, and then of course we have people still speeding and running red lights and all sorts of nonsense. Please be very careful. In fact, we take a look at your fall safety guide on our website, KIDOtalkradio.com. I had a chance to put that up last night. Without further ado, let's go to our great friend Congressman Fulcher joining us. Congressman, how are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing well. It's great to talk to you today.
Always great to talk to you. You know, proving that I am a Russ Fulcher fanboy, I did see one of your videos concerning ranked choice voting, the issue, along with, obviously, the presidential race here in Idaho and across the country. But I did see you in the video, you were like walking, and I don't know if you were going to tackle somebody or what. You looked pretty intimidating, sir.
Well, not only that, I was walking along the railroad track, so... Yeah, that's part of a messaging, I guess, Kevin. But the bottom line is that I truly believe this whole ranked choice idea is a scheme. It's a design plan to try to make Idaho more liberal, and so I oppose that for a whole host of reasons. And I think it's pretty clear once you start looking into it. But yes, that was me. And that video is making its way around the state, and that's what it's supposed to do. And I hope people will watch it and understand what this ranked choice voting thing really is.
Well, I think you have a future as a sheriff or something like that. I mean, I was scared.
Well, sometimes I've been told that, you know what, you need to learn to smile a little bit more because you're not a mean guy, but sometimes you look that way. And so I've got to keep that in mind because I think that's just kind of the natural bad looks that God might have given me.
No. I call that intensity. But before I digress further into Video Killed the Radio Star, let's talk a little bit about, obviously, the latest concerning what's going on in the Middle East. I know you're up to date on this situation. Obviously, you're very concerned about this escalating. Your thoughts on what's going on with Hezbollah, Israel, and Hamas?
Well, I think the main thing we got to remember is that at the root of this, when it comes to the financing, the training, is Iran, and Iran is the center point for terrorism. It's the center point for the training of it, for the financing of it, and quite honestly, we are partially to blame because this administration has dropped the sanctions on them and opened up the cash flow and so indirectly, we are financing a lot of this stuff, and that did not happen under the previous administration. It does happen under this one, and we're seeing the results of that. So until they get shut down fiscally, and it's not that hard to do, they're going to continue to do what they do, which is generate this hate and discontent all over the world. They hate Americans, they hate Israel, and they act like it. And so this is a function of Iran being well financed, and frankly, us as in America indirectly doing it with our purchases of oil and lifting of the sanctions. So that's where we stand.
Yeah, and obviously we're putting more and more carrier groups into that region, and our military continues to be stretched very thin. I know you're very concerned about that as well.
We don't have the level of personnel. There's a whole other story about that, Kevin. This whole DEI type of mentality has absolutely decimated the recruitment efforts for our military, and this has been going on for a while, and so it's filtering through. We have oftentimes the equipment, but we don't have the trained personnel to take over that equipment because people don't want to do this anymore. I mean, typically this has been a young male effort, and they have largely been discouraged through the DEI channels, and there's nothing wrong with having women in certain roles of the military and some diversity, but let nature do that. Let the people who want to do those jobs pursue it. Don't try to artificially create a mimicked environment of our social society in the military, because you can't. They do not line up that way. They do not correlate that way. You can't mimic our society with a fighting force. A fighting force is supposed to be exactly that. You're supposed to pick those who fit the profile of warriors. And that's the whole idea behind the military. So when you say, well, we're going to make our military look like society, well, there's going to be a problem with that, because they're not going to accomplish what their main mission is. So I got off on a little bit of a tangent there, but the bottom line is it does stretch our resources. Even if we have the equipment, we don't have the personnel. And so when we send them in one place, like the Middle East right now, that means that there's going to be other places around the world where they're not on watch. And so it just makes us have to be more diligent and more careful as we try to navigate these foreign policies.
Congressman Russ Fulcher joining us, Kevin Middle in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. The Hill calls it the showdown watch, the shutdown watch. You're in it right now concerning what happens with the budget. Obviously, the speaker under fire. You're close to the speaker and everybody else. What's the latest, sir?
Met with him last night, and we talked this through. It was, I thought, very disappointing that the version of the continuing resolution with the SAVE Act did not pass. And, of course, the Democrat votes all went in opposition to it, and there were some Republican votes that did, too. And that, of course, was the provision in there that says you need to show valid ID of citizenship before you vote. Now, frankly, I think that's a reasonable idea. I know some people say, well, that's federalizing elections, and I guess to an extent it is. But for ID to vote, I think that is something that is absolutely necessary, especially the fact that we've got somewhere between 10 and 20 million. We don't know for sure, but in that range, 10 to 20 million illegals in the U.S. now. Thank you very much to the Biden-Harris administration. So that failed. And so another version is coming. This one I don't like. It doesn't have the SAVE Act in it, and it only goes to December 20th. And the previous one went to March. When people say, well, what's the big difference now? Well, the big difference is if you take your funding window through March of next year, that means you set the number that can be spent by the current or transitioning administration during that window of time. And if you don't, you give whoever is in power another bite at the spending apple. And so by shutting this thing off on December 20, that means on December 21, while there's a lame duck transition administration, no matter who it is, then they can pull out the checkbook again. So the last one, although continuing resolutions are they're not good, I did support it because of the SAVE Act, and it took us through March. This one I will highly likely oppose because it doesn't have the SAVE Act in it, and it only goes to December. So there's the fight. However, it will almost certainly pass because there's going to be some Republicans that want it, and almost all of the Democrats will want it. So that's what happens when you have a partisan divide that is the votes are this tight in Congress, and that's makes it all the more important why when I talk about I'm talking about the conservative movement, the conservative members of Congress need to have more votes, need to have more bodies in Congress. So here comes November 5. And with that, I'm going to be optimistic. We're going to get some more of those votes in November, Kevin.
Well, and Congressman Fulcher, you used to fill in for our friend Austin Hill, God rest his soul. So your old talk show chops are showing here because you're leading me into the next question here on KIDO Talk Radio, which is, when you're done with your day job, then you're working with folks across the country to not only maintain, but as we all know and we need to expand the Republicans' majority in the House. Without the Republicans, you and the Republicans in the House, we would not have had the investigations that have found out all the levels of corruption that continue to go on. And as our founders wanted, they wanted those checks and balances. That's tough when you have Nancy Pelosi or Hakeem Jeffries running the show. So from the House perspective, and you talk to these guys all the time, you're traveling, what are you seeing on the ground for the House Republicans?
I think there's going to be a growth of the House Republican majority, but it's not going to be what what we all want. Remember, here a couple of years ago, there was going to be a big red wave, right? Yeah. And that didn't happen. I don't think that we're going to see a huge shift, but the realistic numbers do appear to be in our favor. When I say in our favor, this is probably a week, 10 days old now, but it was some objective polling that had the House netting an incremental 4 to 6 seats. And that doesn't sound like much, but we've really only got 2. When it comes to the sway factor, we've only got 2 right now. So that's a huge shift. And it couldn't come at a better time. You know, Kevin, I don't know if people really realize, you know, this Congress has been nicknamed, as others have before too, the do-nothing Congress. Well, in terms of passing a lot of legislation, I suppose you could say that, but I would also add that whether or not you pass legislation isn't a metric, or shouldn't be a metric, of the quality of a Congress. It's what gets passed, and frankly, what gets repealed and what gets stopped. If it weren't for that 2-vote majority that we sit on right now, we would have a lot more bad things in this country that have been stopped. And I'll give you a couple examples. We would have federalized elections at this point. We would have another 87,000 IRS agents pulling through your tax returns and looking for ways to come and get you. You know, the list goes on, but my point is that this 2-vote majority, I believe, is about the only thing right now that's keeping the United States of America from a full shift to a socialistic model, because that's what our colleagues in the Senate want. That's what our colleagues on the other side of the aisle want in the House, and that's what the White House wants. And so this election is incredibly critical, and I think that a lot of people are waking up to that. I'm seeing a lot more exposure on this. In Idaho, the ranked choice voting thing is understandably and correctly getting a lot of airtime, but across the country, I think Americans are waking up, and I'm looking for a positive result in November.
Our great friend Congressman Fulcher joining us. Congressman, can you hang on for a minute?
Can, thank you.
Okay. More coming up with our great friend Congressman Fulcher. Coming up next, we're going to talk about radio and what happened last week on the Hill. Kevin Miller. Congressman, I must have been mistaken. I believe it was your committee that led to the full House vote on AM radio last week?
That is correct. Energy and Commerce. We got a vote on the AM radio bill. I think it was 45-2. And what that does is it would keep the AM radio application in vehicles moving forward. There's been a significant move to remove AM radio. The argument has been, well, with more and more cars becoming electric, it is difficult to maintain an AM radio signal with all these batteries and electrical systems in these new cars, which is a bunch of bunk. And we've had experts come in and say, yeah, if Mercedes and Toyota or whatever Tesla can't figure out how to do an AM signal in an electric car, let us know. We'll come help you out. It's called a resistor. They were invented back in the 20s sometimes. So it was kind of funny. But the bottom line is that the real issue behind the scenes is, I believe, the medium of AM radio is generally a conservative one, and there are those people who don't want that around anymore. And so they are looking for ways to discriminate on that front. But there's another very different argument on the AM radio or scenario, and that is the primary emergency channel system we have across the country that is for emergency notifications, and it's the only one that we have that's prolific like that. So bottom line is that we overwhelmingly agreed to keep that in vehicles that passed by a 45-2 vote. So it was very much bipartisan, and we will get a full House floor vote on that soon.
Well, and again, we want to congratulate you and thank you for your support of AM radio, obviously. And it's amazing when you think about, we are also dependent on technology, but unfortunately, and we hope that this never happens, when the power goes out, when things get bad, you need a way of getting your information out.
That is correct. And AM radio is the best way to do that. It's been around a long time. The range, as you know, better than just about anyone, the range is absolutely superb. And so we're going to keep that, Kevin.
Let's talk more about your committee, Energy and Commerce, as we roll along here when we're talking about Obviously, the battle for more natural resources, more minerals. Again, I was telling somebody the other day about, as you described it, Fulcher and the four-wheeler under the earth, under the water table. Any more adventures looking for to profile Idaho's great energy workers?
Well, I'm not taking any more field trips, but I can tell you that this week we've got a big package in natural resources called the Flash Act, and what it's going to be is it's going to be taking a natural resource approach to try to solidify the border. More than 35% of the border line on the southern part of this country is on federal land. And so we want to leverage that in the sense that create more roads, more patrols, more access so we can get to that, because that's where a lot of the foot traffic takes place for that illegal activity. So that's the natural resource bet that is on the docket. And Kevin, I got to mention just one other thing really quick, because this is a significant news possibly for the whole country. But a couple of months ago, I released a bill called the KEEP Act, which is keep each and every penny. What it is, it's the first of its kind ever been attempted as far as we know, but it would eliminate federal income tax on overtime pay. And I figured that at a time with all this inflation and interest rates and whatnot, what would be a good way to incentivize work, to encourage people to work as opposed to sign up for some government program. And by reducing the federal or eliminating the federal income tax on overtime pay, not touching the payroll tax, so the Medicare, Social Security would all remain the same, but just the federal income tax, that would be a good boost to try to keep more money in people's pockets and boost the economy that way. So then, almost just a few weeks after that bill got released, my communications director had apparently spoken to the Trump campaign. Here comes President Trump. He's out championing the same thing. Gave it a great big boost. So if we get some good results here in November, that's going to be, I think, towards the top of the agenda. I think we got a real opportunity to make some headway with our tax policy, with the right administration and the right Congress in place.
Well, and let's expand on that. I mean, you have people that are working more and getting less. So the idea of when you're incentivized to work extra, you're not having to pay that extra tax would be huge to people, right?
Absolutely. And so think about it. I mean, if you've got more money, I mean, if you're like me, if you've got more money, you're going to spend it and you're going to invest it and you're going to pump it back in the economy. And that's the whole point is who is best to determine where your money goes? Is it the government where basically you earn it and then you send it to the government and then the government decides how to divvy that up, how to distribute that wealth? Or is it you? You say, no, you know what? I want to take a portion of what I make and I want to buy a four-wheeler so I can go run around in a gold mine or whatever, right? And so that gets pumped in the economy that way and stimulates that industry and that portion of the economy. So that's exactly the point, is that people are the best to determine how their wealth gets distributed, and that's what this would do. And so I'm excited about it. By the way, this was a function of a conversation. This idea was a function of a conversation with constituents in a town hall meeting in the northern part of the state. And it just kind of came out. It wasn't like anybody's one single idea. It just kind of came out of a back and forth discussion, and said, "Hey, this could be a way to really have an impact on tax policy for the better and put more money in people's pockets." And so this was not. This is the value of what you do, for example, because you stimulate conversation, you stimulate the exchange of ideas. And that's all that we did at a coffee house in northern part of the state, talking about ways that might improve things. And so that's why I'm so bullish of what you do, the forum you have, because you stimulate that discussion, you stimulate people to think. And when you think and you have those discussions, pros and cons, that's when you come up with ideas. That's where that came from.
Well, no, that is outstanding. Congressman Fulcher, How do you see this debate between Senator Vance and Governor Walz playing out?
Well, I think that I don't know either of them, and it was interesting when Senator Vance got picked as a running mate. He was the only one that I really didn't know, so I don't know him personally, but I can tell enough from just the interactions I see through media. This guy's antenna goes all the way up, and that is not necessarily the case with Walz. Or if Walz's does, then it's going in the wrong direction. It's not going up; it's going sideways. So I think that when it comes to the issues, I think that you're going to see Vance probably be very dominant, and he's going to be driving home the conservative points, and will likely expose the flaws in the liberal mind process, a liberal thought process that Walz has. So I look forward to it. I think that Vance appears to be very well equipped to articulate a position, and that's what a debate is. You've got to have the ability to articulate a position, and I think that he's going to be very good at it, and so this should help the conservative cause.
Congressman Fulcher, anything else you'd like to share with us today?
Kevin, this place is nonstop, and if you let it, it will eat you alive, and that's what I tell my staff every day. You've got to take a pause periodically, and you've got to focus on what's going on at home, and you need to touch base with people back in Idaho and the home state and your home regions. And so I'm doing a lot of that right now, and I'm looking forward to seeing people again across the state here coming up over the next weekend. And that's got tremendous value. And thank you again for giving me an opportunity to share a few comments and thoughts through your medium.
No, we appreciate that. And do you ever chill out? You ever relax?
Right, honestly, right now, no, and that's something personally that I've got to work on, because I have a hard time doing that, and that has negative ramifications on a lot of things, your health, your family, and so I've got a lot of room to improve there, and I'm gonna try to do that, but to be honest, it probably won't be till after November 5.
Well, I know a guy in New Meadows that owns a chateau. I'm sure he would put you up for a few nights.
You know what? That would be a great place to start. I know who that guy is you might be talking about, and that'd be a great place to start.
He's a very relaxed young man, isn't he?
Well, you wouldn't go there to be relaxed, but you would go there for some good old-fashioned infusion of Idaho values. How about that?
Yes, sir. Congressman Fulcher, thank you again, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Take care.
Our great friend, Congressman Fulcher, joining us. We'll get your reaction next. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Our great friend, Dave Burnett, standing by diligently. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Idaho Pizza Company studio, traffic down the freeway looking good between Caney County and to Ada County. No major problems there. Don't forget downtown Boise, State Street right there at 18th. You have construction as they continue to work that project. Shindig Farms Pumpkin Patch and Hay Maze now open, from wagon rides and zip lines to giant slides and corn cannons. It's perfect for the whole family or that field trip. For pricing and hours, check out shindigfarms.com. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Used to write for the Idaho Statesman. Audrey, covering the Ammon Bundy case, works now for ProPublica. And talking about Mr. Bundy, where Mr. Bundy apparently, this is from a Twitter feed, and a long Twitter feed, but let me give you the updates here. Idaho's largest healthcare system is years into a legal fight with Ammon Bundy, the far-right agitator. Like many Idaho journalists, I am fascinated by this unlikely battle, in part because it asks the question, what if the court says do this and you just don't? Like, peace out. Peace out, G. The hospital system has continued to follow Mr. Bundy. One of the recent filings goes into how Mr. Bundy left Idaho and moved to Utah after losing the $50 million plus defamation suit. The health system followed him to court there and recently got permission to subpoena him and his wife to turn their pockets, quote, inside out. Is it too late to go to law school, little buddy? Got me. Here we go. The hospital system, St. Luke's, says Bundy hid his assets to keep St. Luke's from collecting on their defamation suit. In a motion filed on Friday, it said, quote, if Mr. Bundy wishes to obtain a fresh start, he must lay bare his long obscured finances. Well, the guy lost his house. He lost his business. He lost just about everything, right? Now, that's an echo of a statement of what happened in the civil lawsuit, but Ammon Bundy was a no-show in the litigation over a year. He ignored court orders. He avoided being arrested, contempt charges. It's been 2 years, and St. Luke's continues to push open up cracking the books. Now he wants to nullify the judgment via bankruptcy. We're in federal court now. What happens if Mr. Bundy ignores St. Luke as creditor subpoena? What if the court has an order and he says, So there we have it. When you have Mr. Bundy going, there. Apparently, Mr. Bundy has made a statement to Boise State Public Radio. I guess they grabbed his statement here. And again, since we actually support Boise State Public Radio, I guess we'll read the statement here. They are opposite of a Christian organization who, even though they carry the name of St. Luke's, he said, quote, true Christians forgive. In an email to Boise State Public Radio, Mr. Bundy said, St. Luke has done everything they could to try and make my family as miserable as possible. This motion is just another attempt. Man. Well, there's your Ammon Bundy update at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And, I know, again, we continue to feel the pains of, what do we call that, the pandemic, and will we ever get over that? In fact, there's a new poll out by Axios. What is it, 35% of Democrats trust institutions, 42% of Republicans. And if we do not trust institutions, there is our future? What really is our future? Something to think about. Also, new Boise Police Chief Dennison made the rounds with the media. We'll hear from him coming up in a second. But first, Pete and Mountain Home on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Hello, Pete.
Hello, Kevin. Just a quick comment on one of Russ Fulcher's remarks about the difficulty to recruit white males for the military because of the DEI and all the rest of that crud.
Yeah.
This was about 2 years ago. There was a Air Force guy that came into our coffee shop every so often. He'd been in for 4 years, and he was not going to enlist because he said he was tired of having to get the correct pronouns when he talked to people that worked in his unit.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, like when you talk to an officer, it's ma'am, and when it's a male, it's sir.
This was getting the correct pronouns for a man that identified as a woman or vice versa.
Well, that's a tough way to lose a great troop, is it not?
Oh, yeah. He said he'd had it with that crap, as he phrased it, and he had to be very careful not to be insensitive to the feelings, and he was heading back home to Tennessee.
Yeah, whatever happened to get up, get down? Whatever happened to the military? And I don't want to say they punched you in the face, but I mean, they didn't give a rip about your feelings. You went and you completed the mission, and you did a job, and you did it till it was right. I don't care if I make you cry. I don't care if I make you hurt. You're going to do it because it's going to make you a better person. Is that gone today?
Yeah, that's gone. Now you can't hurt their feelings.
Jeez.
And it amazes me. You see the media and the left and the people, the Department of Defense, all wondering, golly, we don't know why these people aren't going to enlist in the military now. Well, guess what? They enlist in the military and they get treated like dirt.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Well, the white males do. I don't know. Everybody else we have to be real polite and kind and sweet to.
Well, and it's too bad it's divisive, because one of the great things about the military that I always loved was it was colorblind.
Yeah, we didn't actually give a shit what color you were. Like you said, can you do or can you not do the job?
Yeah. No, you're right about that.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say Russ is correct. The military apparently is doing its best to make sure they don't get enough people enlisted.
Pete?
And on that happy note...
my man, you have a great one, Pete.
You too.
All right, more coming up. Sean Hannity today at 1 after Clay and Buck. Clay and Buck today, Vivek the Cake. That's right, their guest, Vivek Ramaswamy. Don't miss Claim Buck 10 to 1. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
KIDO Talk Radio. Waking up on the right side. This is the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
Oh, you'll be very, very happy to know that 9 high-ranking former national security and military officials who signed a letter on Sunday endorsing Vice President Harris and a run for office included Leon Panetta, who actually said that the attack used by Israel against Hezbollah, the pagers that went on, he called it a terror attack. But you got Panetta signing the letter, Clapper signing the letter, Brennan signing the letter. Gee, what a shock. 4 years ago, they're the same people that dismissed the very real, infamous Hunter Biden laptop as Russian disinformation, and none of them knew a damn thing about the laptop. None of them even looked at the laptop.
From coast to coast, from sea to shining sea, it's the Sean Hannity Show.
War, inflation, and recession. Did you know that experts call gold the everything hedge? Gold goes far beyond hedging against inflation or the stock market. It can potentially even guard you against today's wars in Ukraine and the Middle East. Not to mention the great economic danger of a recession coming, which is what we're all worried about. And that's why gold just hit another record high. And central banks, they just keep buying gold at a record pace. It's Linda here. Join me and thousands of people who have called Goldco the #1 rated gold company. It's time you diversify your money with time-tested safe haven assets, physical gold and silver. Today, Goldco is offering our listeners up to 8 years in free IRA fees plus up to 8% in bonus silver with a qualified account. Call 855-815-GOLD for free IRA fees, free bonus silver, and a free gold and silver info kit. What are you waiting for? Call 855-815-GOLD. That's 855-815-GOLD. Do it today. You can't wait.
Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. So we have the new Boise Police Chief, fresh from Tucson, Chris Dennison, talking to the Idaho Statesman. Mandatory credit, Idaho Statesman, our neighbor in the building. Got a very eclectic crew here. I think we have like a holistic health doctor. We've got the Idaho Statesman. We've got the litigators. Is there anybody else in this building, Sweet William? Oh, us, right, the bottom feeders. Let's take a listen. Here is Chief Dennison talking about he's new in town and what he's trying to accomplish. What are the priorities of the new Boise Police Chief?
It creates a lot of angst just internally within the organization. They don't know me. I don't know them. So there's a lot of concern. There's a lot of anxiety that builds around it. So what I'm doing is really trying to be open and forthright with my personnel.
Oh, whoops. Sorry, the computer froze. Maybe we'll get back to that. You know how it is. Maybe you're thinking, man, Kevin Miller, you live such a great life, a life of style and adventure. You roam around in your 2015, 2016 bubble-looking Subaru Forester, very masculine car. And, you have the best and greatest computer stuff. I really can't relate to you because, I wish I could walk around looking like a guy in his mid-50s looking for a kickball tournament with the receding hairline, yet the long, flowing locks. I know you're all jealous of me. By the way, I'm being facetious, everybody. And you've got the world's best computer. See, I'm just like you, man. My stuff doesn't work as well. So really what Chief Dennison is saying, and by the way, this is a fascinating dude. By the way, Sarah Cutler did this interview for the Statesman on KIDO Talk Radio, but here he's talking about like their feelings and he's new. Yeah, you're right, man. Nobody likes it. Nobody likes the boss. And if you like your boss, that's not really a boss. That's like a friend. Nobody likes their boss. There comes the boss. Nobody's happy to see the boss. And the boss knows everybody hates him. In their heart of hearts, they know they don't like him. Nobody likes the boss. So the only thing worse than the old boss is when you get a new boss because everything resets. Now, if you're in the doghouse with the old boss, the new boss is an opportunity to own the office. You know what I mean? New boss, unless they have a file on you, and they've got a big file on me, and unless you can get into the personnel department and rip this up. By the way, I knew a friend of mine who, this is the best story ever, knew that he was getting the boot. And so what he did was he happened to be walking by where they kept all the personnel files. And he just allegedly happened to grab all the personnel files. And so when they wanted to give him the boot, they couldn't. They had to rewrite all the paperwork they had on the guy. It was brilliant. I wish I could do that, but everything's computerized now. However, my point being with Chief Dennison is he appears to be a very sensitive person. And that's not a knock compared to what Mayor McClain put everybody through the last time. And there was a comment made on a local television station. We'll get to them in a minute. However, what's that, Sweet William? Please stop talking and go back to Chief Dennison. You swear the computer's working this time? You know, I have a great reputation here to uphold.
Having them ask questions, letting them understand my philosophy. If I'm able to answer questions for them, I can. If I don't know the answers, I don't know, and I need to learn it. Just knowing what my previous department went through when we went through an outside chief and just the angst that brought in, I want to try to tamp that down as much as possible because the mission of BPD is so important. I want the officers not to be focused on what's the new chief going to do. I want them focused on what they can do to serve the community. I've had quite a few conversations with department members and understanding some of the struggles that BPD has, and it's interesting. A lot of the same things are consistent with what I dealt with.
Yeah, but this isn't Tucson. This is Boise, Idaho, and every place has their pride. Every place is unique. It's not the same. We had a chief that was bad for business. Thankfully, our friend, the former chief, Ron Weiniger, who should have gotten the job to begin with, came back and saved the day. And we have a media that wants to be everybody's friend. I don't want to be their friend. I want to be your friend. But we have a media here that let the mayor skate. Let the mayor skate and head out. Gosh knows where she is right now. So you bring in this poor guy. And by the way, I'm going to keep going with my point. I don't know why somebody in Idaho didn't get this job, or at least was a finalist. It's odd to me. We have a lot of great law enforcement people in Idaho, and nothing against Chief Dennison, but this guy's got a tough job. Imagine, and again, I don't know Tucson. We know one person that lives in Tucson. His name is Liberal Steve. And Tucson, that doesn't sound like a great place to live for me. So you get to move to this place, high expectations. We're seeing a lot more officer-involved shootings. And it's got to be a very stressful thing for this guy. And you got to win people over. Now, thankfully, in Idaho, it's not like east of the Great River where everybody hates everybody. And you ain't one of us, partner. You're never going to be one of us, partner. That's how it is. So I'm sitting there listening to Chief Dennison, and I hope the guy succeeds. So, again, I'm watching the coverage, and this is how the media, this is how they paint things a certain way. And so I'm watching a young reporter on Channel 7, and she's talking to the guy that, you know, everybody knows, 208 guy, who gets very sensitive when I talk about him on the air, so I'm not going to mention his name. By the way, I think he does a great job. I think he's miscast in that role. I think he's much better being an advocate for the community. But regardless, that ship has sailed with he and I. However, I'm sitting here watching her ask this guy a question, Dennison, the chief, and talking about, well, Boise PD's been through a lot. How do you restore the public's trust? That is liberal BS. And, of course, you get that from the classically trained Channel 7 liberal school of journalism. There's no problem between Boise PD and the community. The problem is between the mayor and Boise PD and how she bungled the hiring of the guy that wasn't here, her guy from Portland, and tried to turn Boise into Portland. And it was so bad. And again, it was because of an insider on the television station Channel 7. The reporter's daddy worked at the police department. He told her she got the exclusive. And if it hadn't been for that report, we'd still have the former chief who got, what was it, a six-figure golden parachute. Thank you, Mayor McClain. And then we had, what was it, a $500,000, almost $1 million investigation from a Washington attorney, the guy that was representing Christy Blasey Floyd, who prosecuted Oliver North and then couldn't find any racism in Boise. Yeah, the problem is not with the community that loves the police. The problem is, in fact, within the department itself, with the union, with the rank and file, why people have left. This guy has to rebuild a mess. That's not a slight on the people, the good men and women of law enforcement. Nobody likes to work in a bad workspace. Imagine working in a bad workspace and still having to face the growing threat against our beloved community here. That's the thing. And again, the reporter puts the onus on the police, which is totally absurd. Totally absurd, totally irresponsible. And I look at that and I go, man, somebody's got to stand with these guys. I don't want to say stand up for them. They can stand up for themselves. But I'm looking at Chief Dennison here. This guy's got a tough job. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Don't forget, Sean Hannity today at 1, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Podcast or even YouTube, Kevin Miller Show. It's under the KIDO Talk Radio News YouTube channel. We would love for you to join us. And again, great insight from Congressman Fulcher. Basically working on a bill that if you get the overtime, you're not going to pay taxes on it, which would be outstanding. Boy, if we could only get a bill where when you work, you don't get taxes on anything. Tax me, tax you, little buddy. Don't forget, Dave Petso will be doing a victory lap coming up today in the 8 o'clock hour because it was the best week ever, the best day ever for the markets. Will it last? We'll find out. Kevin Miller, good morning. 580-KIDO. Did you know Fox News, they have a guy named Ryan Schmelz. We call him Ravishing. He joins us now. Of course, when you're listening to Fox News on the radio in Idaho, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio, not that kid radio in eastern Idaho that sometimes our boy has a chance to go on the little boy channel, the kids radio, but not to be confused with KIDO. Good morning.
Hey, what's up, Kevin?
Not much. You know, I'm a little cyber sleuth. I see you talk to our friends in eastern Idaho. They do a great job, and always a pleasure to have you on, Ryan.
Oh, of course. It's always great to be on, Kevin.
Yeah, here we go. Here's the lead. Tuesday is a big day on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, well, big surprise, right? Right. So, yes, I mean, like the big thing, Kevin, you know, we got to fund the government and, you know, we're heading towards a shutdown, but we got a plan that's on the works and that's been put out there for members to look at. And right now, actually, as you and I are talking, Speaker Johnson is actually talking to his conference and we are expecting him to lay out his plan for what he wants to do if we get to December with government funding. So the extension that Johnson has worked on with Democrats would extend government funding until December and include additional funding for Secret Service. And then, you know, if they're able to pass that, which we are expecting it likely to do, you know, the big question is, you know, what's the plan to get a full budget negotiated, or are they going to keep kicking the can down the road until next year?
Well, I think if we had to take odds on that, I think they'd kick the can down the road, don't you think?
Well, I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, I think there is a sense of urgency. And I think what it's really going to depend on, Kevin, is who wins the election in November. Because if one party is looking a little less powerful than the other one heading into next election or heading into the changing of Congress, then they're probably going to want to extend a full budget and try to get as many priorities as they can before a new president and before a new Congress takes over.
Ryan Schmelz joining us, the one-man band, the one-man gang with us on KIDO Talk Radio from Fox News Radio. So we have also Brett Favre coming to Capitol Hill.
Yeah, Brett Favre is going to be testifying about that welfare scandal. I'm sure you know a good amount about. He's accused of, you know, using funding that was meant for, you know, welfare recipients in Mississippi. And this has been a pretty substantial allegation that he's going to have to answer for. So we'll have to wait and see how it goes. Yeah,
it's pretty devastating. I believe there was at least one, maybe several documentaries on this. And, you know, the idea of went to his kid's softball team allegedly or something like that. Crazy what happens. You know, I don't know. You know, anybody that's gone to college or really had anything to do with the state of Mississippi really can't be trusted, Ryan.
Well, actually, that was, I see what you did there. You tried to trap me. Nice try, Kevin. Nice try, Kevin.
Well, I mean, you are of the Lane Kiffin School of Global Management.
Yeah, we are. And, you know, Lane Kiffin is still with Ole Miss. He's going to take us to the playoffs this year. And we'll hopefully be able to keep him for another cycle because, you know, the Florida job could open up in very soon. And then you know, there could be an NFL team that wants a young, bright offensive mind.
Well, that did work out for him in the Raiders. But by the way, I think he's much better off at Ole Miss than he would be at Auburn or Florida. Speaking of Southern roots, Johnny Cash is coming to the Capitol.
Yeah, that's right. Well, first of all, I do want to say about the Lane Kiffin NFL thing that he was 32 at the time. He's now 50, and he has grown quite a lot as a human being and as a coach since then. Now, to get to the Johnny Cash part, yes, Johnny Cash will have a statue unveiling later on today. You know, this is every state gets 2 statues they get to put in the halls of Congress. Arkansas has actually replaced both of them this year. They put up a statue of Daisy Bates, the civil rights leader, earlier, and now they're going to be putting up the statue of Johnny Cash a little bit later on today.
Arkansas is putting up a statue of Johnny Cash?
That is correct. The Ring of Fire is going to be burning all over Capitol Hill. It's a kind of he has a lot of songs that kind of match, you know, what you expect from Congress. Ring of Fire, it's always fiery here. I Walk the Line, it's what members of Congress should live by. And then a lot of songs about the blues, because that's how we feel most of the time when we're here.
I'm with you, and that was very creative. However, I would think his beloved state of Tennessee would have done that years ago.
Yes, but I believe he was born in Arkansas.
Well, you can't have everything, can you? Suey Piggy or whatever they call that. You would probably know the Suey Hog, or what do they say in Arkansas?
Woo Pig.
See, that's why you're in Washington and I'm in Idaho. You know all
Even though where I come from, pigs say oink oink.
Ryan Schmelz, anything else you would like to comment on? Perhaps Jey Uso. I think he won the Intercontinental title last night.
He did? Oh, nice. Well, Ravens are 1-2. That's what I want to comment on.
All right. You know, I have to tell you this, that Mr. Savage is a lot more excited to deal with us. I mean, Mr. Savage is kind of like the Will Ospreay of the Kevin Miller program.
Well, you always tend to book me after I've done like 14 hits and I've written like 10 scripts. So,
my man,
like you always get me when I'm about at my wits' end and ready to take a nap. And so,
my man,
you always get heel Ryan because you book at the heel Ryan times. You got to do a better job of that, Kevin.
Heck yeah, man! I couldn't take you on when you were at full power. Couldn't handle that.
Yeah, exactly.
Ryan, we appreciate you, and you have a blessed day, sir.
Hey, you too, Kevin. Thank you so much as always. Always great to be on.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. Our great friend Ryan Schmelz joining us. What a nice young man. Kevin Miller, supporter of Idaho law enforcement. Lee Joe, you're welcome to call in and explain it to me. I can't really watch a video while we're doing the program. Good morning once again. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up on Clay and Buck, Amanda Levine, or is it Levine? She will be talking about all the scandals. You might have caught her on Fox News yesterday where she said the CIA, the DIA, the FBI have done everything they could to protect the Bidens. Does that make sense to you? Joe Biden being protected. And I don't know if anybody caught Mr. Shapiro, who was saying that Joe Biden is dead. I don't know if he'll be allowed to say that as we roll along, but Clay and Buck, also Clay and Buck will have on Vivek the Cake.
People know the facts of what it looked like when they were under Donald Trump. Prices were flat, wages went up. We were out of World War III, nowhere close to it, and we had a secure border. Now we have the most open border we've had in our history of our country. We're closer to major conflict than we have any time in our lifetime. And the fact of the matter is that the economy is stagnant. You got prices that have gone up and wages that have remained flat. Those are the facts. However, the narrative around this, served up through much of the media, is that we're still a nation somehow in despair because of Donald Trump, even though it's been Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in office. I also think, Lawrence, people are hungry for something deeper as well. Inspiration, identity, pride in our country. And I do think when Donald Trump is at his best, he's been the best president we've had this century who's able to fill that gap of pride, which isn't something that shows up in issue surveys amongst voters, but I do think is a deeper issue that matters to Americans, is reviving our sense of identity as Americans. Answer, who are we? And I think if Donald Trump is able to channel that between now and the finish line, as I've seen him do when he's at his best, I think that's really what's going to carry us not only over Election Day, but in reviving our country afterwards.
It's good to be Vivek Ramaswamy. Who would have ever thought? It took us years to pronounce his name correctly. A young, articulate guy. His wife is a doctor. He's got 2 kids of Indian descent. It doesn't matter. The guy has the total package. Fox News signing him to a deal not only on Fox Nation, but on the Fox News channel. And what, he just produced a movie that's coming out as well. This guy has the chops to be a great talk show host. You just hear him talk and you just want to hear the information. And he's right about that. People want aspirational. People want hope. People want hope and change. Of course, we did get that before. And what happened? We got Barack Obama. And when we think of Barack Obama on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
Thanks, Obama.
2 words for you.
Thanks, Obama.
And we're still thanking everybody. Thank you, Obama. Thank you, Obama. And by the way, thank you, Reverend Wright. We always appreciate the chickens when they come home to roost.
America's chickens coming home to roost.
There we have it. There we have it indeed. Here we have a new CNN New York Times poll showing Kamala Harris losing support from Latino and black voters in Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. Could it all come down to identity politics? Could it really all come down to minorities not voting for the minority candidate? We're going to talk about this in a minute, but first, let's break down the information courtesy of CNN with Kevin Miller.
Oh, how about this? I think this is really interesting. All right, choice for president, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina. All right, Hispanic voters. 4 years ago, Joe Biden won that vote 66% in the Sun Belt. Look at where we are now. Kamala Harris at just 52%. So Kamala Harris struggling among Hispanic voters. Donald Trump doing considerably better than he did 4 years ago. How about black voters? Kamala Harris, again, leading here by a significant margin, right? She's getting 83% of that vote, but that is significantly short of Joe Biden's 92%. So the bottom line is, in the Sun Belt, which is much more diverse than the northern battleground states up in the Great Lakes, Kamala Harris is struggling among voters of color, Jake.
And there we have it. Actually, that was Wolf, not Jake. But how about this? I love this. Now we're calling it voters of color, calling them voters of color. How about just Americans? Oh, you're naive, Kevin Miller. You have to use the identity politics. Okay, well, you have people that were born a certain way, labeled by politicians, labeled by people in the media, people of privilege, because they happen to be white. And then you have people like Joy Reid and others attacking people because they're white. So what this poll tells me is that a certain amount of black voters, Hispanic voters, abortion is not their big issue. You take a look at those folks, and having spent time in those communities and admired their striving to keep their families together. You take a look at the white community. White community, people get divorced. People are more liberal. But you take a look at the Hispanic, the black communities, there's faith, there's love of parents. And I'm not saying the white community isn't like that. I think I actually feel stupid even saying this. But they're seeing what's happening to this country. Now, for me, and look, I'm just an old guy, but at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, if you and I were hanging out, whether it was at the Sunrise Cafe in Middleton or it was at the Tipsy Chef in Meridian or Eddie's in Boise, we'd be saying the same thing, man. I'd be saying the same thing. The number one issue that all the Democrats have, and they're aided by people in Idaho and in America, is the abortion issue. If you don't believe that states have a right to say we're going to protect the lives of the unborn, then you vote for Kamala. And you talk about your rights being taken away and Roe v. Wade and all that other BS. And you say that it's wrong and you buy into the argument perpetrated by the media here in Idaho and across the country. And if you believe that your abortion rights supersede the border, that supersede the economy, that supersede the world falling apart, that supersede the quality of life, then you vote for Kamala. That's really what it is. I mean, Biden and Harris have really, it's everything is a job interview. And, you know, everybody has their pros and their cons when they take a new job or they're evaluating an employee. And Harris is Biden. She's not something new. You know, you could say she's an old car that has been detailed and shined up, and they're trying to say that she's new. She's the administration that gave us the border and people are just buying into the cult of personality because they don't want to be uncomfortable. President Trump makes people uncomfortable in a good way. But what I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking to myself, when you want to keep your job, there are certain things you want to do, you have to do, but you want to make it very difficult for people to fire you. Look, I have been fired 5 or 6 times in my career. Perhaps I'm on my way to number 7. But I can recall, did you do this, Kevin Miller? And I can remember the first time I got fired, I go, well, you know something? I really didn't have a functioning relationship with my direct supervisor. And I lost I lost the audience of one. And then I vowed never to do that again. The second time I got fired, it was new management, just how it was. And so when you look at Harris, what good has the Biden administration done for you? Have they made the schools safer? Have they made the opportunities for black Americans, white Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans better? No, they've imported a bunch of foreign workers that have come in and taken jobs from Americans and have given them all of the benefits. That's why when Dave Petso and I go toe-to-toe, we always talk about, people always vilify Social Security. Social Security should be the last thing that is ever touched. When you start cutting aid to all the people that have come into this country illegally, when you start cutting the aid to all the people that take our money and still plot against us, and we still don't have enough money, then you can touch my Social Security. Then you can touch my Medicare. But the good, blessed people of America that paid into that, and it's not cheap, should not have that taken away. It's great for Republicans will say, we need to reform entitlements. Yeah, how about the entitlements of Joe Biden and Kamala when they come in and they give all these people all this free stuff? Those are the arguments that people should be making. Those are the arguments that people should be talking about. And like I said, when you have someone who stands for absolutely nothing and the corrupt media backs them, and if they still vote for her, well, then we have no one to blame but ourselves.
The governor and we were all doing a tour of the library here and talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time when we think about a day in the life of our children.
Yeah, she sounds like me stalling for the news. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 580-5436. Love to get your thoughts on, why would anybody in their right mind vote for the Democrats? Vote for Harris.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Idaho Pizza Company studio, traffic on the freeway still running slow through that Garrity interchange as you go eastbound because of an accident on the left-hand side. Have another accident, a motorcycle accident at 27th and Main right in the middle of the intersection, and an injury accident at Lake Hazel and 5 Mile. Dealing with backed up drains can be costly. Perfect Plumbing, Heating, and Air will clear the drain for just $29, providing you with unbeatable home comfort without breaking the bank. Call or schedule at callperfectnow.com. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Thank you very much, Dave Burnett. Don't forget, coming up, Dave Petso will join us, and Vivek Ramaswamy will join Clay and Buck coming up today during their show from 10 to 1 on KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. It is heating up in the Middle East.
Monday was the deadliest day in nearly a year of hostilities between Israel and the Lebanon-based militant group Hezbollah. The Lebanese Health Ministry says 492 people were killed. Israel has urged those living near Hezbollah positions to get out while airstrikes take place, and thousands are trying to comply with temporary shelters being set up in schools and community buildings. Overnight, dozens more targets were hit, taking out rocket launchers with fighter jets. Hezbollah, meanwhile, continuing to fire projectiles into Israel. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
Boy, you know something? We may have it tough here in America, but thank God that we don't have that war coming to our shores, and hopefully that we never will. Those folks, those brave Israelis that are fighting on all fronts, fighting the deadly enemies, and really fighting internally when you have the Biden administration slow-walking weapons. Apparently now Biden won't give them tractors to blow up the minefields. What is going on with that guy? We'll find out next. Phone number's here, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. By the way, Zelensky is in Pennsylvania. What's he doing there? We'll tell you next. Don't forget our friends at Beacon Plumbing. They say stop freaking, call Beacon. BeaconPlumbing.net. That's right, BeaconPlumbing.net for all of your plumbing needs. That hot water tank going, gone. Takes forever to get the water going. It's not going to get any better. Call our friends at Beacon Plumbing today. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. They bring you Fox, the best talk right here on KIDO Talk Radio. Here's something that you're not going to hear anywhere else, certainly not in Idaho, from our friends at townhall.com. Hall of Fame coach calls out Harris for saying that people of faith can support abortion. Think about that. Can people of faith support abortion? Vice President Kamala Harris has been unapologetically pro-abortion up till birth for years, which Town Hall has covered. On the campaign trail, Harris has stated again that and again that she would support reinstating Roe versus Wade, which allowed for nearly all abortions. In addition, Harris has claimed that people of faith do not have to abandon their convictions to support abortion policies. This is from Madeline Leesman from Town Hall. And this is the vice president saying that, by the way, you can be a person that goes to church and still believe in abortion.
And let us all agree, one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree the government should not be telling her what to do with her body.
Yeah, whatever happened to thou shalt not kill? Now, Tony Dungy is a person of faith. Tony Dungy is a guy who has been through it all. He currently is on NBC's Sunday Night Football coverage. He's an NFL Hall of Fame coach. He called out Harris for claiming that Americans do not have to abandon their faith to support pro-abortion initiatives. Coach Dungy said, Dear Vice President Harris, I hear you made the statement all the time. He wrote, exactly what faith are you talking about when you say you don't have to abandon it to support abortion? Are you talking about the Christian faith that says all babies are made in the image of God? Genesis 1, verse 26, that God places them in the womb and that we should not take any life unjustly? Are you talking about that faith or some nebulous general faith that says we're good enough and smart enough to make our own decisions? What faith are you talking about? He posted on the X. Earlier this month, but Dungy pointed out that the Extreme Pro-Abortion Initiative is on the ballot in Texas. In Texas, we'll be voting on Amendment 4 this November that would take all limits off timing of an abortion. By the way, that's Florida, not Texas. If it passes, we would become the 10th state where that type of late-term abortion would be legal. Please don't distort the facts to make a point, he wrote in response to a post from the NAACP about third trimester abortions. You know, we talk about people of faith standing up for things, and here you have Coach Dungy standing up for faith. Thank you. Let's go to Subaru Jerry with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Subaru Jerry.
Morning, Kevin. I would like to know who Kamala Harris thinks she is, that she can dictate to all the Christians in the world that they can support abortion. Who is she? Is she above the Pope? Where does she get this divine inspiration from?
It's a very good
heaven.
Point. Yeah.
It's Satan. That's what it is. And right now he's in charge. And we better wake up on this election or he's going to really be in charge.
Well, he's running wild right now. Got anything inspiring to share with us?
No.
Oh, that's not good.
Maybe after the election.
Yeah. After the election, we should hold a big party.
I hope we are.
Yeah. All right, Subaru Jerry, anything else? I know you're a quick hitter.
Well, that's it. I'm on my way to work.
All right. Thank you, Subaru Jerry. And hopefully when you work overtime, you won't have to pay any taxes on it. Thanks to our friend, Congressman Russ Fulcher. Yesterday, we were talking a little bit about AOC. Did you hear this? AOC was making the rounds yesterday saying that it's time to rein in the media. That's why, right, we need to rein in the media because when the media says something that the Democrats disagree with, we must punish the media outlets?
I do think that several members of Congress in some of my discussions have brought up media literacy, because that is a part of what happened here. And we're going to have to figure out how we rein in our media environment so that you can't just spew disinformation and misinformation. It's one thing to have differing opinions, but it's another thing entirely to just say things that are false. And so that's something that we're looking into.
Yeah. Why don't you look into handling the deficit and the overall debt? Remember when in the old days where we would look at AOC and think that she was a joke? And yet with the advent of social media, with her continued stay in Congress, she's gotten better. She's gotten more mainstream. Of course, the Democratic Party has gotten more liberal, certainly more liberal. And here she is talking about reining in the media. Well, we already rein in the media. We rein in the conservative media because we're shadow banned. Ask anyone who's involved in the firearms industry how difficult it is to get on YouTube or to stay on Facebook. Here we have it. What do we have here? Ada County with Kevin. They can't let a red-blooded Idaho conservative be sheriff of Ada County. The most liberal county would have been Law and Order. Ada County wants someone from another Democratic town to slowly continue to gentrify this conservative area to be more liberal. That is Denver and Nampa, responding to the Boise police chief being hired from Arizona. What AOC is saying, that we're all too stupid to know the difference between truth and lies. Elite clicker in Nampa. And the Van Buren boys from A. Bundy in America. Thank you, A. Bundy, for being a constant source of diversity on the Kevin Miller program. Well, we have some time. Let's go to Lee Joe, who joins us now when he's not texting me some video about the cops beating up the kids on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller in the morning. Hello, Lee Joe.
That's the local cops beating up the kids.
Yes, I know. I didn't say it wasn't the local cops.
Exactly. I mean, there's plenty of videos from all over.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen the whole thing yet. I can't really see it. But why don't you describe it for everyone so it's not just an insider club here?
We've got Meridian Police Department overreacting and acting like thugs. They're investigating a motorcycle wreck long after the wreck has happened, and the kids are picking up their brother's bike, and dude just starts going hog wild, throwing kids on the ground and doing the usual stop resisting thing that they do to cover their butts. And then
didn't the kid, wasn't one of the kids like dressed up as a cowboy? Was a cowboy?
He wasn't dressed up as a cowboy.
I know. Hold on. Wait a minute. I misspoke. I'm sorry. I did. I realized my mistake when I uttered it out of my pie hole. I'm sorry.
Anyway, yes, he was. These are, country type kids living in Meridian. They got a dirt bike out, and their brother wrecked on the street. 16-year-old being dumb with his off-road motorcycle, and he's packed off to the hospital, and his brothers come to load it up in the truck, and all of a sudden cops show up, 20, 30, 40 minutes later or better, and decide they got to start showing that they're in charge of everything and start beating up on these kids. And we got, they're going to be in the court on the 27th, I believe. So, might be an excuse for folks to show up. What day is today? It's not 27. Anyway, but it's a rampant cultural thing in police departments anymore that you need to be shown by force what you need to do. To my friend, the elite clicker, CLI.
Oh, wait a minute. He called you Leroy. He was calling you Leroy again. Leroy.
Right, Leroy. I don't care what you call me.
I think we need more Leroys. I like that name. What's up, Leroy?
It's a culturally appropriated name, generally speaking. But I gave him the name Elite Clicker. I know how it's spelled. And he demonstrated once again that for some reason he thinks there's a special privilege involved in having and being an Idaho native and being a, fifth generation with a similar heritage to him.
Hey, he said that, what did he say? He said that, in his opinion, that if you have to be a native to run for governor of your state.
Exactly.
The only state I could run for is Ohio, and who wants to be governor of Ohio? Not me.
Well, that if you believe you have to have a certain heritage to be part of the government, well, then why aren't you subject to the King of England anymore? And if that's how we're rolling, I mean, there is in the United States, there is no privilege that comes with where you were raised or what your ethnic background is, or what your culture is, and it's great to be proud of your heritage, but to believe it puts you above another person is a mistake. And he demonstrated in his discussion the hypocrisy of what he was saying. He said, in his church, which is my church as well, which is Ammon Bundy's church as well, we believe that there's no difference in the flesh of man. It is just, a man is a man. Congratulations. And then he went on after that to say, well, you have to be a certain such and such to run for governor. So anyway, I love Brian. He's good. He's real good. But, it's CLIQUE. And it's awesome that he could take the double entendre, take it and turn it into clicker, and I need to go shooting with him someday and see how this trigger finger works. My daughter has a similar tremor in her hand, so that'd be pretty cool. Do some ammo dumping.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your old home day with us. I think you put us to sleep.
Yeah, that's I do my best.
Thanks,
but I appreciate the time, Kevin. We'll try and get on to you later, but I'm working on my white privilege of starting a business, and I just don't get time to hang out with you anymore.
I do appreciate that. Thank you for acknowledging openly your privilege. If I could issue a certificate of atonement, I would.
I appreciate it. Some absolution would be appreciated. Thank you.
Good luck in your endeavor, sir. Appreciate you.
We'll talk to you later.
All right. Lee Joe joining us now. Kevin Miller in the morning. KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
And look who's back. Our great friend Ron Grant rejoins us on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning, young man. How are we doing today?
Not bad. Living the dream. Of course, always turbulent as we get closer and closer to the elections. What does it mean for our money, Ron?
Well, a lot of people have not planned for their longevity planning, Kevin, and that's important. According to the Stanford Center of Longevity, people are going to live today maybe 30 to 35 years past retirement, and that's important. So some questions for you. Do you have a lifetime guaranteed income out of the risk and the fees of the Wall Street casino? Will you outlive your money in your 401k? And how bad will the next 08 affect your 401ks, your 403bs, et cetera? Kevin, I provide for my clients a lifetime of security thanks to a lifetime of income that traditional retirement plans just don't offer. And, of course, we sleep at night knowing that we can't lose our principal and we can't lose our gains like you can in the Wall Street casino.
Well, Ron, that's all sounds good, but people like to talk and they like to listen. They'd like to hear from you. How can they do that?
Got a great educational website that they can go on first, Kevin. It's safermoneyspecialist.com. There's some articles there that they can read. There's videos there that they can take a look at. Heck, there's even a book they can download, 10 Things to Know About Retirement And then when they're ready, give me a call, 208-660-1372, and let's discuss how we can keep your money 100% safe and get you that guaranteed lifetime income that you can't outlive.
Ron, one more time, your number and website, please.
Sure. The website is safermoneyspecialist.com, and the phone number is 208-660-1372.
Ron Grant, as always, we appreciate you. Thank you for your time, sir.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
All right, against my better judgment, we won't leave him behind. We don't leave anybody behind. Our great friend Pro Life joins us now. Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you for the call. Good morning, Pro.
Hey, yeah, good morning.
I don't know what kind of business Lee Joe's starting, but I'd patronize it if I could. But and Brian, I like Brian. Those two guys are really pretty good guys. But anyway, you were talking about Kamala Harris saying that your faith shouldn't preclude you for voting for pro-abortion.
That's what she says.
Yeah. Now, see, here's the real problem. Faith has never really defined what abortion is. You don't hear the churches saying baby murder. You don't say that you're killing your unborn child. They just use the word abortion because that's a nebulous kind of a thing that, like a health care.
Well, they use abortion where they talk about the woman's body. They don't say abortion. It's your body, your choice.
Right.
That's how they do it.
But no, as soon as sperm meets egg, there's a separate body. There's a little baby body in there, and it needs to be able to have a right to grow up and be birthed and raised in the right way. I mean, of course, I'd say that's a Christian way. Now, here, have you ever heard of a Christian church excommunicating somebody for murdering their baby? You don't hear that. Now, if Christians really believe that abortion was murder, churches would be excommunicating people for murdering their babies.
Well, people don't do that anymore. It's called the Scarlet Letter.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't excommunicate people for adultery. So now,
one guy got excommunicated for having hetero month, that guy in Eagle.
For having hetero, yes.
Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about that the other day.
Right. Well, the hetero guy is right. And, I'm just very thankful that my wife is from the opposite sex. I mean...
Why? Are you telling me you at one time you found men attractive?
No. No, that's totally stupid.
I don't know how you can find a man attractive, if you ask me. Men are not attractive.
No, they're not. Not for men, anyway, but I hope the women think they're attractive. But here, the real problem is that people don't really believe anything. They're just peer-oriented, and so they hear some blabbermouth like Kamala saying it's okay to kill your baby, and about half of the people are going to vote for her or whatever. That is totally ridiculous.
That's totally stupid.
Yeah, it's very, very stupid. But you don't hear, you don't see churches that have signs out in front of their church that says abortion is murder. They should. They should say all kinds of things about sexual behavior, too, but they don't. So we're in trouble because
we're not in trouble. We're challenged.
Yeah. Yeah, we're very challenged.
I mean, was it over when Obama came in? No, and it's not over now. Who's with me?
Well, it's not over because say Kamala Harris did become the president, the Republicans still might hold the House and the Senate, and then we'd have a big fight, which I don't want to have. But anyway, we have to think about what God looks at all of us as what he's going to do with us. And that worries me because he might just be deciding, listen, this is so far gone, I'm going to have to intervene here and create some kind of a situation where this will start over.
Well, I hope not. Pro-life, I apologize. Got to run. Paulie, hang on. We'll get to you before the break. IDO Talk Radio. Don't forget Theo Wold will join us in the 9 o'clock hour. We go back to the phones. Paulie in Nampa, Idaho. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you, Mrs. Miller, doing?
Well, I believe we're both still employed, but that's subject to change. And you?
Yeah, I know the feeling. You're always feeling like you're looking down over the precipice.
Yes, the abyss.
Whether your boss is going to push you into the abyss or not.
No, I don't know about that. You just kind of look at it and you go, what is it all for, really? What is it all for, Paulie? What's the meaning of life?
It's all for 8 hours is what it is.
What's your perspective, man?
I heard Lee Joe and some other people talking about faith.
Wait a minute. I heard his name was I heard his name was Leroy.
That's good, Kevin. No, the topic of faith is one that I'm not very well versed at. I don't know the topic all that well. I was told how to read the Bible by a priest, but I sought out his particular.
Well, I mean, you need to join the Catholic Church. You don't have to read the Bible; they just tell you what to do. And I as someone who really loves to be told what to do, I just take my orders from Pope Francis, and we're good.
Yeah, see, that's where I have a problem. Now, John Paul II is one that I really loved growing up being in the Catholic Church.
I'm with you, but I was a Benedict guy, and I think Benedict got hosed, and I still don't know about that.
Well, that's over easy. Yeah.
My man. Okay, Paulie, you got a minute and a half to bring it home. I apologize for the short time. You can always call back, but what would you like to share? Okay. I'm gonna shut up and listen.
I'm happy for your visitors. They don't have to put up with me, but a minute and a half, that's all.
Well, that's not very kindly for the content that you're producing. I mean, we live to serve, Paulie.
Yeah. Well, I still want to get that appointment with you. I don't know how I can't get the phone number to you unless it's off your board, but you could call me. I don't text, so that makes it more difficult.
Sure. You want to hang out is what you're saying.
Well, just for an hour or so and just talk about some topics.
Well, that sounds like a good time. As if we don't talk about
it has to be on the radio.
As if we don't talk about topics enough. We can do it in my free time as well.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to take away from your family time. That's the most important thing we got.
I think they appreciate the break. Don't tell them, but I said that. But I think they appreciate the break.
Well, you get kind of burned out about more boots going into the abyss over there at the Gulf. We're not really sure how that's going to end up, but
no, he likes the YouTube. I think it's a battle between Dave Petso's YouTube channel and the vaunted From the Godless Corporation KIDO Talk Radio YouTube channel. I think he's up to like 20 views and we're up to 4. So Petso wins. Petso wins. Petso wins. Good morning, sir.
I think with our viewers, we're probably not going to get paid anything by YouTube. I'm not really checking the mail for the check.
Yeah, ours is so bad. We're actually paying YouTube to be on there. So there you have it. Now, before we let you have your much deserved victory lap because of your beloved markets, I have to ask you a money question. And
okay, I'm on.
Okay, so I'm actually going to try to be coherent in my questions, which I know is a new experience for both of us. So give me
throw me off, are you?
Yeah, give me a second here. Because remember, money is my fifth language. So, remember, you can always catch Dave 8 to 10 on Saturdays on KIDO Talk Radio. So we had this big news last week where the Pac-12 has a bunch of money because all their members left. So they've added 4 teams, including Boise State. Now, the payoff, because you deal with these numbers, they're not make-believe numbers like us. You actually deal with numbers like this. So the Mountain West, because they had this poaching provision, and if you leave, you have to pay a certain amount of money, they're going to collect about $100 million, maybe a little bit more. And the Mountain West, by the way, $100 million, that's a lot of money, isn't it? I don't know anymore because I can't count to 10. Is that considered a lot of money?
Probably in the world of sports anymore, no. With teams worth billions of dollars, with revenues in the billions of dollars, it probably isn't. Kevin, it is in a real world. I mean, do you say as a university, I don't want my share of $10 million. They all do. They fight for the $3 million purse and the bowl games and so on. So it's still, yes, it's considerable money, big money. If we could define the difference, but yeah.
But like to us humans, it's big money. So the Mountain West now, they want to keep their teams, and we all know you're a fan of Vegas. So Utah State looks like they're going to join. So they're going to get Mountain West is going to get some more money from the Pac-12. And it all comes down to UNLV. And if UNLV leaves, people say the Mountain West will blow up. But it's fascinating because, remember, these are universities. These are public institutions. And now the Mountain West is going to have like 100. Basically, the Pac-12 transferred all their money to the Mountain West to get these teams so they can rebuild their conference to make money. Nothing really about academics. And the Air Force Academy, a service academy, they got $10 million to stay in the Mountain West. So when you hear all these figures about revenue, about payoffs, about ratings, and college football teams, as a market guy, as a money guy, as a numbers guy, what goes on in your head? This seems more like something we'd see in the Wall Street Journal as opposed to Sports Illustrated.
It totally is. And if anybody thinks that football is about being part of the team, if they think that football is about the camaraderie of a team, that's just not. I don't know what world you're living in. I get that being a fan of Kansas City or whoever it is a big thing for people. But it's not, because it's this group of people that hangs together, and it's just, man, they just love being a Cleveland Brown, and they're going to dig their way out, right? It just isn't. It's a big money sport, and they get the best athletes, and they pay them tens of millions of dollars. It's absolutely incredible. And if they get a better offer somewhere else, then suddenly they're not that. They're a Seahawk. They're anything that they want to be, and they float around. So it's not about the team. It's about money. So as we look at this and think about the old alma mater, it's not that anymore. It's about money. And so they are very much about just like the Wall Street Journal talks about. And Kevin, you and I have talked about it endlessly. If it's only about money, I'm not sure Boise State is going to do well in the end. It's it's going to wind up with the 20 teams that have all the money and get all the bowl bids and get all the best players because they can afford it. So if that's the sport we want, that's the sport we're getting, and that certainly is, whether it's NFL or college. And other people will argue that it's a great thing, and that's fine. That's it's two sides to every argument. But it is going to, in my opinion, take down. I don't know how University of Idaho even fields a football team 10 years from now. So I just don't know what teams are going to do.
Well, and again, there was a great article by Bruce Feldman of the New York Times about how, to get kids to go to Idaho, they say, you go here, we're a developmental program, and you can leave here and you get six figures at a lower major school. If you stay 2 years, you might get, $500,000. $500,000. Now, people work their entire lives sometimes just to get to $500,000. Now you're giving them to kids, some kids who haven't even proven themselves on the college football field. And again, these are institutions that are subsidized by the taxpayers.
Right. Yeah, which and operated like big business.
Yeah.
I don't get it either, Kevin. I think you're quite right. It's a very odd thing to have tax-free institutions, and people forget about property taxes and all the other things that they don't pay. It's a big deal. It's a big footprint a university is of non-tax-paying land, people. It's quite something when they're generating millions and millions of dollars worth of profits and not paying any taxes on it.
Right. And, just another example of this, we'd all like to be as gifted as some of these athletes are, but you had a kid who was overlooked. He was a 3-star recruit out of Alabama, went to Ole Miss, started for a couple of years, and Ohio State literally offered him more money, and now he's a Buckeye and doing quite well. It's fascinating how we've all just opened the door to big money, and obviously everybody who works should get paid, but you think about that pay scale and, an 18-year-old, 19-year-old making, millions, if you will, it's like you said, very different from what programs like Boise State and others have to do. Any other thoughts on that before we move on to your victory lap here today?
No,
you're ready for the victory lap.
Victory lap. I like that part. Yeah. Kevin, you're on this much more than I am. think when the world becomes completely about money, and I'm a money guy, okay, and I understand how important money is. It's security. It enables you buy the things you want. It's a lot of things for people. But when it becomes everything, it's a problem, and our world is very much about that. And I think college sports simply exemplifies that. I like to gamble occasionally, but I don't sports bet, and I don't prop bet, and all these things. And I just think it matters a lot when we're all about whether somebody gains 4.5 yards on the next carry. And that's what the game is about. And so I think that everything about money is really infecting sports in a way that we wonder about the ref calls especially when they're really bad, and they seem to be really bad so far this year. So I think that without that gambling, without the money, without all the money, do we really think that way? Did we think that way before? I just don't know. I just worry that money has become so big in sports and sports gambling now that we just simply don't have that we're losing sport for sport.
Right, and obviously everybody is embracing gambling. Now the state of Idaho can't gamble in Idaho. Now you can go to the casinos in Oregon and Nevada and wherever else, but you can't gamble in Idaho. A lot of pressure, though. As someone who has been here for so long and you know all the major players, they know you. What do you make of Idaho's stance on law and order? No weed, no gambling.
Kevin, I think that we're learning that weed is not good for your culture. It's not good for young people's brains, particularly, and slows them down for the rest of their life. It affects them in a way that we would most certainly ban any pharmaceutical that did that. If we understood what cigarettes did years ago, we would have banned that. They wouldn't have allowed that, and until it became endemic in the society. It's not something that is healthy for people. Now, are there uses for it? Can people take a gummy to help them sleep or whatever, and all these other things you hear about? Sure. But that's not what it becomes when you put it out there as being legal. It becomes available. You smell it everywhere, and I don't care about smelling it. I know people really find that horrible, and I get it. But that's not the problem. The problem is that people are doing it. They're driving cars. They're going to work. They're doing things that put everybody else at risk, and they also are putting themselves and their own health at risk. I think that when you make things legal, you imply, certainly as a society, we don't care if you get addicted to this and it becomes a problem for you, and it does for a lot of people. And we all have this, whether it's personal experiences or personal experiences with people, where it does not go well. It does not go well for people. And, so I applaud Idaho. There's always pressure to go get more money, to act like the cool politician, whatever it is. I think it's great that they don't. And we all know that, gambling has the same issues. It's fun for 95% of the people. It's a problem for 5 or whatever the number is. And because of that 5, it is a huge problem, and it brings a lot of crime with it, too.
Our great friend Dave Petso joining us here on KIDO Talk Radio. So, once again, the markets are defying logic. Are we ever going to see a day where we're just never going to have a correction?
No. I don't think that's even possible. And we have we've had a couple of little 5%, maybe even a 10% correction this year. But, Kevin, we do have them. And then it's like, aha, here it is. And it's been going away. That's what's been happening for quite a while here, for a couple of years, where it just has to come down, and it doesn't. And I don't know that it does have to make sense. And the reason I say that is that sometimes markets go through long periods where they just don't go down. They go through long periods where they are down a lot. And as we look at the economy, though, it's not terrible. It's not good, but it's not terrible. And so we see, again, what is the market about? It's about corporations. What are they doing? They're killing it. And when we see corporate profits, 13 quarters in a row, or the highest 13 quarters of profits, you have to say, I wonder why the market's at all-time highs. If corporate profits are at all-time highs, why wouldn't it be? And so as corporations continue to kill it, I think that's really the bottom line. And further, I would have to argue, I've seen this over my lifetime and over 40 years investing. It shows you that people can learn. Because when I started, I'm telling you, there's not very many people that thought the market was an okay thing. They still had lots of feelings about the Depression and all those other things years and years ago. Even if they didn't live it, people told them about it. They believed it. You can't trust the stock market. Don't invest in the stock market. And there were so many bad, if you it's like a gold mining stock. I still see certificates sometimes, and people say, is there any value in this? And you look at it and go, the gold mining company of, Idaho. The answer is no. I go ahead and look it up, but the answer is no. They're all zero. And it was a great con, and that's why I think people steered away from it so much. But they've learned over the years there is no investment better, easier, cheaper, and requires absolutely no time than the stock market. That has, I think, permeated people's belief system through the form of 401ks predominantly. And they now go, well, why do I even worry about a correction? They happen, and then we go to all-time highs.
Well, I'm sure you got a bunch of phone calls, though, when we had that little a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we have, you're going to get that from time to time. And you also get people that are like, should we this, should we that? And the answer really is, over time, though, the vast majority, Kevin, understand, no, you do not react to what markets are doing. You react to what the overall conditions are, but not the markets itself. If interest rates are low, interest rates are high, you may do different things, but it's not because the market has reacted. We do this because the ground conditions have shifted.
More from our great friend Dave Petso coming up. Also, I do want to talk to you about the Fed, and we'll ask Dave, did they bail out Vice President Harris, and could we see more big tech moving to Idaho? Those stories and more with our great friend Dave Petso next. Kevin Miller in the Morning. News About Your Money continues on KIDO Talk Radio. Continues with Kevin Miller and Dave Petso. Story from ripped from the pages of your beloved Wall Street Journal. Big tech companies are looking for sources of energy. Dave Petso, you and I are old men. Well, I'm an old man. You're a young, fit little rascal. But we do remember what happened at 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania. And were you shocked that now Microsoft has cut a deal with? They closed the place, which was the home of America's largest nuclear disaster. They closed the place. They're going to reopen it, and nuclear power is going to power AI for Microsoft. And now we're learning that tech companies are looking for places, whether it's geothermal, whether it's solar, whether it's nuclear, to house the AI, because the AI takes up a lot of energy. So first, we'll ask you about 3 Mile Island, then we'll give you the part two of the question.
Kevin, I think it's fantastic. As we all know, nuclear was way too quickly unwound. It's the cleanest fuel there is. It's the cheapest fuel there is once they build the nuke. What is exciting to me is, again, when we look at government versus business, and I just can't, every time we see the lesson, right? I don't know why we have to pretend the lesson isn't in front of us every single day. We have internet in space, internet all over the globe because of a billionaire launching rockets, not a government. We are about to have energy breakthroughs of mini nukes because of different investment opportunities, business, if you will, different companies running at this, not waiting on government permitting. Microsoft will get the job done. The government won't. It's been sitting there empty for years. And we way overreacted, which I understand. Nuclear is we understand how horrible it is. And we way overreacted, though, in shutting them down. We're seeing all over the world this was a mistake, and they're reopening or delaying. And I think this is actually, we're not going to be delaying it anymore. We're going to be building mini, if you will, nukes all over the place. And it is going to be our, if you will, our green fuel of the future. So I really think it's an amazing thing, Kevin. And I think the whole thing is weird that we use so much electricity now for things I would think the greenies weren't real happy about, like Bitcoin. It's still, but that's okay because they're kind of sort of on the same side. I don't know. It's a very weird political world we live in. But watching business solve these problems again and again and again is a lesson I wish we could learn, because we're watching politicians now try to spend money that we don't have on programs that won't work and never have worked. And that's kind of where we're at.
So we move on to the state of Idaho. Could Idaho be a target of more tech people coming here? We have Facebook and CUNA. We have Amazon. There have been rumors that the CUNA project will bring in more tech people because they like Idaho is a relative stable environment, lots of solar, lots of geothermal to power the AI. Of course, as you and I both know, we still have a lot of limited resources. We were blessed to get through the triple-digit summer without a water shortage, which has happened in the past, as you know, more than most. So would you look to see in the most unregulated state in the country that we're going to have more of these big tech people coming in, building these massive facilities and sucking up our precious resources?
I do think we're going to get more, and I think they're being courted to come here as well, because they're considered to be great jobs, high-paying jobs, and high revenue for the state. So I think that and by and large, they are great jobs. So, but you're right, they are going to be sucking up the electricity and water. So I do think that is something to be watched. I don't know, when you say that we're the most unregulated state, I'm not sure that we're unregulated in that sense, Kevin, but I do know that we are very, very good about permitting, speeding along companies' developments. And that's one of the things that's so attractive to companies to come here and build. As you've pointed out many, many times, the Chobani facility, it wasn't, tax-free for life like many states offer, but it was built in 1 year, which no other state could do. And Butch Otter rightfully, proudly talks about the fact of why they got Chobani there. And yes, of course, they have lots of dairy cows down there too. But but so do a lot of places, and Idaho got it.
Well, I'm still mad that we didn't get it here, but I'm mad about a lot of things. Your take on John Deere moving their workers to Mexico. Donald Trump says if that happens, he's going to hit them with a 200% tariff.
Yeah, well, he can talk about that, and I don't believe he can do it. So I think that it's something to say when a company is sick and tired of what the rules are and moves right across the border. That says a lot. Now, the fact that we're seeing Mexico turn into another dictatorship, I think is going to change that mathematics very quickly. So I think companies that decide they're going to build and trust a person and not the rule of law in that country are crazy. I don't know how many lessons, again, we have to learn. But, hey, let's get in bed with the Chinese. What can go wrong, And this is the thing that is just crazy to me. The business is thinking so short term, and it is short term. So I don't think it's a great idea. I certainly admire John Deere as a company. I think they've done some amazing things to change agriculture and become basically a high-tech company. But I don't know that you want to pick a fight like that. That's very anti-American to move out of the country. And you are John Deere. You're a very American company, and you rely on those farmers buying your equipment over some other foreign firm. Well, now if you're a foreign firm, I think you're on the same footing.
Dave Petso, anything else we should be looking out for?
Kevin, as far as you are quite right to wonder why and what's going on about the market, because we are in a very hot political season. We are in a world of everything is on fire. And it just doesn't make sense when we see markets at all-time highs. Focus on the corporate profits. Try to, get away from the politics. The world isn't ending yet, and I know it's in trouble, and it's in trouble everywhere, and we all need to be praying for a better outcome. But at the same time, we lose sight of what markets are when we get so caught up in the politics and the angst of the day. Watch the companies. They're doing amazing things.
Dave Petso, we always appreciate you, and we thank you for taking time for us every week. We appreciate you, sir.
Kevin, appreciate you. You have a great day.
Our great friend, you too, our great friend Dave Petso. Don't forget our friends at Beacon Plumbing. They say stop freaking, call Beacon. They bring you Fox News coming up after traffic. KIDO Talk Radio Traffic. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Idaho Pizza Company studio, traffic coming out of Canyon County into Ada County. It does run slow right there at that Garrity interchange as you come eastbound on the freeway. Bright sunshine to dealing with. Left-hand lanes right around Locust Grove slowing down as well. Buckle up, watch your speeds inbound on the connector. Get paid to bank when you open a new checking account at Horizon Credit Union. Put some extra cash in your pocket. Visit hzcu.org/get paid to find out how. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Dave Petso breaking it down for us as we take a look at the events of the day. And, it's fascinating when you take a look at a couple of things going on here, and that is this whole conference realignment. And no, we're not going to all you that go, dude, I don't want to hear sports. I can listen to Sam Sporty if I want that. And I get that. And we want to be respectful of the audience here as always. But the fascinating thing about the sports is just the business aspect of it, where you have all of these colleges that, get a lot of money from the taxpayers. And, now they're getting more and more money, which is really, if they're going to be professionals, just 1099 them and move on. I know it's probably not that simple, but just give them a 1099 and move along. And then you have people, and again, this is not bagging on the athletes, but when you have a young person, a young man making, $200,000, $300,000 in Boise, Idaho, or $50,000, that's a lot of money. And there are so many questions because remember Title IX, where, you have Title IX, which said that, if the men's program gets this, then the women's program should get that as well. And when you're paying football players and some basketball players, how does Title IX play into it? So it's really fascinating. I know you're going to go, well, Kevin Miller, let's get back to a couple of other issues. We talked about this earlier at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. We do have the Boise police chief who is talking about trying to rebuild that department. And not, in fairness to the Boise Police Department, we're not going to say rebuild the department, but they've been through a lot. And the Boise mayor, she is responsible for that turbulence because she hired the last guy who was not a good guy. And we're not talking about our great friend Ron Weiniger, who is going to retire once again. But her, and I want to say romanticization, her love of hiring people outside Idaho. And you're going to go, well, Kevin Miller, you were hired outside of Idaho. I'm not the police chief. This young man seems like a very nice guy. We put in a request to get him on. We always want to have great relations with our law enforcement personnel, but at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, we have to take a look at these things and say to ourselves, how can we support the police? They've got a challenging job. I got gun-toting Glenn sending me a thing on Twitter that the Venezuelan gang is in Canyon County. Is there any good news here today? Bo, have you seen the Venezuelan gang? You don't go to Canyon County. Oh, well, I do. Let's go to the phones. Harv in Caldwell. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you for the call.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate you taking the call, sir. I just wanted to call. I took issue with a statement that pro-life had made just a little while ago about abortion. I agree with him on abortion. It's wrong, and it is murder. However, his attitude of excommunicating somebody from the church that may have had an abortion, that's not how, I mean, you know, the good book says we've all sinned and come short of the glory of God. And I think that's a little harsh, brother. People, you know, there is forgiveness. And I don't think you can just draw the line and say, okay, you're excommunicated. That's the last thing we really want to do.
Well, pro-life is harsh. He's a harsh man.
Yeah. I think he's a little self-righteous. I'll be honest with you.
I think he's a lot self-righteous.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what do you make, though, of, and that was off the conversation of Tony Dungy saying, you know, when Kamala said people of faith, you know, can support abortions or something of that nature.
Well, yeah, but see, you have to consider the source. And she's as liberal as they come, and it's all about abortion for that side. And so they're going to try and justify it any way they can. And I don't care what they say, it doesn't make it right.
Oh, no, I agree with you. Harv, anything else you want to share with us?
No, I just wanted to, touch on that issue about excommunicating somebody from the church because of an abortion. I think there's forgiveness.
Well, I mean, he wants to excommunicate everybody if you are an adulterer, or if you're this, if you're that. He's not really, and I've said this to his face, he's not really a go-along to get along guy. He's a very firm believer in his beliefs.
Yeah, but there we go. That comes into the self-righteous, and whether he wants to admit it or not, he has sin in his life also from day to day. We all do.
Yeah, but it sure feels good to be self-righteous. I remember when I was self-righteous. Then I look in the mirror.
That's good. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you taking my call, friend.
Thank you, Harvin Caldwell on KIDO Talk Radio. New caller to the program. New caller, Bell. Yeah, I know. I used to be self-righteous, and then I looked in the mirror. Let's get, by the way, you think you're having a rough time? How would you like to be an Afghan man? What's that, Sweet William? You'd have to be able to grow hair on your face? Yes. Now, you're going to love this. Now, remember, we got out of Afghanistan because the Afghans didn't want us there. But from PJ Media, according to the Washington Post, while new restrictions are hardly comparable to those under which the Afghan women must struggle, they still they're very difficult for men. By the way, it's very, very strict Islamic law in Afghanistan now. For example, if you're a man, there's no heterosexual males, or not heterosexual, metrosexual males. Yeah, there's a big difference, Kevin Miller. Get that right. You're not a metrosexual in Afghanistan. No. Men must have fist-length beards. They cannot be un-Islamic in their appearance, which means they can't have unapproved haircuts or wear clothes like the jeans. Nope, no Levi's for you, Afghan men. Now, here's something. They can't glance at a woman that's not their wife. Nope, you can't give them a look. There could be a knock on the door if they do not attend religious services. And cab drivers are facing violations for having unescorted women as passengers or for playing music. That's right. No Tupac, no Diddy, no Taylor Swift in Afghanistan. She's not going to be shaking off in Afghanistan. You're never, ever going to have a Taylor Swift concert in Afghanistan, sadly. One man in Kabul commented, if men had raised their voices, we might also be in a different situation now. Now everyone is growing a beard because we don't want to be questioned, humiliated. A man who is a former Taliban supporter told the Post, quote, we are practicing Muslims and we know what is mandatory or not, but it's unacceptable to use force on us. Even people who have supported the Taliban are now trying to leave the country. Well, you had a good thing with us. The women were being educated. You were moving towards a republic, maybe a democracy, and now, boom, you're gone. Given the Taliban's track record, especially concerning women, it is difficult, if not nigh impossible, to summon even a modicum of sympathy for these men. After all, they were aware of who the Taliban was, And it should be given that if you put fanatical dictators in charge of your country, the inevitable results will follow. Simply because the dictators have not gotten around to you yet does not mean that they will not get around to you eventually, and they will. And, by the way, the article goes on to quote Lenin, useful idiots on college campuses. Lincoln Brown from PJ Media wrote this story. So the men in Afghanistan, they're mad, they're upset, they're angry because, hey, man, they can't wear jeans. They can't do any of these things. Well, did they think that it was going to get better? Did they think that it was going to be wonderful with the Taliban? No. The Taliban is all about doing what the Taliban says. And the men, you either comply or not. New laws promulgated in late August mandate that men must wear a fist-long beard. By the way, that's a law in Afghanistan. Now, they also are banned from imitating non-Muslims in appearance or behavior. Widely interpreted as a prohibition against jeans and a ban on haircuts, that's against Islamic law as well, which essentially means short or Western-style hair. So you're going to have to let the hair grow out a little. And by the way, don't be looking at any women. I don't know about if you can't look at men, but apparently those are the new rules. So if you think you have it rough, at least you're not the Taliban or the Taliban women. Brian in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio, or as we like to call him, the Elite Clicker. Good morning.
Hey, Kevin, I guess I'm an infidel because I have a shaved head and I don't grow a beard. So, I think they'd kill me. They don't excommunicate you over there. They just send you back to God. You think you got it bad when you get excommunicated. At least in my church, if you get excommunicated, a year or two later, you can go back to the quorum of the 12 and say, hey, I've repented and can I come back into the fold? But the Taliban just says, we'll let God take care of you. Hey, Kevin, Kamala says she was joking. I'm disappointed. Did you hear this?
Joking about what?
Her staff is saying she was joking about owning a gun and shooting somebody if they come into her house. They said that was all a joke. And I was thinking about it, Kevin. I have kind of a thing for Kamala. I listen to her a lot.
Wait a minute. You have a thing for her. What does that mean? You have a thing for her?
I watch her a lot. I'm married, so
right. You're not. When you say you have a thing for her, we've got to disclose everything.
I got to be careful. Yeah, I better be careful with that one. But the interesting thing, I think the reason they came back and said she was joking about that is because Kamala went on a radio station, and it's all over YouTube, and the host asked her if she ever smoked dope, and she said, yeah, and I inhaled too. And if you remember, her Marxist dad was very upset about that. Like, that was beneath his family's name. And I understand that. Like, there's certain things as a Clark you just don't do. So I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I understand why they said she was joking, because if she, in fact, did smoke dope, and then she bought a gun, a pistol, in 2019, which they came out and said she did, there's this little form you have to fill out. If you remember right, I gave Liberal Steve a hard time about this. Somewhere on that form it asks you if you've done illegal drugs. So if Kamala wasn't joking about it, she had broken federal law. So she better be joking, because if she did buy a gun in 2019, she's a felon. Any questions, Kevin?
No, that's the first time I've heard that.
It's true. I mean, everybody that buys a gun, they're all about universal background checks. Well, universal background checks are harder than the ones we currently do. When you go buy a pistol, any gun, you have to fill out that form. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. And one of the questions is, have you done illegal drugs?
Have you done the weed?
Yeah, and if you lie on that form, I think it's like 10 years or a certain amount of money. Remember Hunter? You know, the whole Hunter thing? The same thing. He lied on the form. If Kamala bought a gun and she admits on public radio that she smoked weed, just saying. You have a good one, Kevin. Love you.
Love you, Brian. Thank you for the call. More coming up next. Don't forget, Lars Larson today at 4. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. 5436-580-KIDO. Don't forget, coming up, Sean Hannity today at 1. As you just heard, Lars Larson as well. Kevin Miller with you till 10. And don't forget, you can always give us a blast on the Yap Yap Club. Some great stories on our website. 4 takeaways from Boise State's big win. What does it mean? Is it really real? You take a look at the job of the folks at Boise State, what they've done, a big sellout. And quite frankly, when you look at things objectively with Boise State, I mean, on one hand, you have they lost to Oregon. They beat a lower-ranked FBS team in Georgia Southern, and they beat an FCS school in Portland State. So you think to yourself, why are people so excited? People want a winner, and of course, you've had the improvements at the stadium, and we cover that on our article on our website, KIDOTalkRadio.com. Quickly to Chris in Cuna with Kevin Miller. Good morning, Chris.
Kevin, how you doing, my friend?
How you been, brother?
I've been well. Hey, just wanted to comment on the last gentleman that called about Kamala filling out the form and to own a gun and had used drugs in the past. Using drugs in the past is not necessarily going to ban you from owning a firearm. It depends on where you are. It depends if you were convicted of the crime or if you're an addict at the time. Hunter Biden was an addict at the time. He was actively using illegal substances. He filled out the form. That's what got him in trouble. If she just had used drugs in the past, there'd be a lot of people without guns if they'd smoked weed at some point in the past, and that would ban them from doing that. That's not the case.
What do you make of the whole idea of she owned a gun before she didn't own a gun?
I think that just shows that she's pandering. She just said something that sounded cool to kind of attract a certain percentage of the voters to her, thinking, I can vote for her and still have, beat the Second Amendment or whatever it is. But, then she comes out and says that she's just kidding. She's totally disingenuous. She's just making things up as she goes along.
And apparently some people are buying it.
Well, you know what they say. People buy a lot of things these days, but it's not all good for you.
Hey, Chris, thank you for the call. Thank you for listening, sir.
Absolutely. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you, Chris and Cuna. Let's get you to work safely and on time. KIDO Talk Radio Traffic. Hello, David.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Idaho Pizza Company studio, working an accident again right near the Garrity interchange, so watch for that. Also at Farmway Road and Simplot Boulevard in Caldwell, you have an accident working too. Shindig Farms Pumpkin Patch and Hay Maze is now open. From wagon rides and zip lines to giant slides and corn cannons, it's perfect for the whole family or a field trip. For pricing and hours, check out shindigfarms.com. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Appreciate that, Dave Burnett. Phone numbers here. We gave them to you. Coming up next, Theo Wold. We'll talk to him about ranked choice voting in Idaho. In addition to that, we're also going to take a look at, just the battle for the United States Senate. We talked to Congressman Fulcher earlier about the battle for the House. What about the United States Senate? Also, don't forget our political insider, Mike Tracy, will join us tomorrow at 7. Can't wait to hear what he has to say. Stay with us. We're just getting started. KIDO. Sure, why not? We'll roll along. We're having people reacting to Brian's comments concerning Kamala Harris, and whether or not she meant to say that she had a gun or she smoked weed or I don't know. Sometimes I think everybody tries to be the cool person, when you're an older person and maybe you buy the younger person's clothing or all sorts of things. And then lo and behold, you just don't know what happens next. You look kind of ridiculous. So when we have someone who is an attorney general, a senator, a vice president, trying to be hip, trying to play everything else, it's okay to be a woman in your 60s. There's nothing wrong with being in your 60s, but to sit there and talk about in my day, I did this, I did that. It's almost like this guy. This guy, unfortunately, is the president of the United States. He's the guy they put up there, the figurehead, And if you're a fan of The Office, it's like when Dunder or Mifflin showed up, and Michael Scott had him at a certain place, and he talked for a minute, and then they just kind of threw him to the door. In other words, he's talking, but no one really is listening to this man. And he's up there before the United Nations, and he's saying, listen to me.
Presidency. This summer, I faced a decision whether to seek a second term as president. It was a difficult decision. Being president has been the honor of my life. There's so much more I want to get done. As much as I love the job, I love my country more. I decided after 50 years of public service, it's time for a new generation of leadership to take my nation forward. My fellow leaders, let us never forget, some things are more important than staying in power. It's your people.
A lot of energy there with Joe Biden. Tim in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Tim.
Good morning, Kevin. Hey, good morning. Hey, listen, I just wanted to call this morning and talk about that open primary petition that's on the ballot, that, I guess, coming up this fall.
Yes, the ranked choice voting. Yep.
Yep. So here's the thing. I'm an ex-Californian, and that's how the liberals locked up the elections for California, because what they do is they run 4 or 5 people at a time, all libs, against the conservatives. Everybody's running together. You have and the ones who win are the liberals. You know, and they win by 26% of the vote, because that, and then you might have 2 liberals that face off in the final election. But it's a very bad idea, and it's not I do not think we're a 2-party system, and that's, I think, it's a bad idea and I would just say that don't vote no for that baby.
Well, again, you have to wonder how people have made this decision to do this. It's very odd, because
I think they're trying to split up the state of Idaho to where it's not a conservative state anymore. I mean, let's face it, that's what they do. I'm a conservative, but I'm a political refugee from California. But I'm telling you that's what happens with that. We would, as a conservative, we never felt like we had somebody conservative that would win. You would have 2 liberals would win running, and then you can't. Who do you pick? They're both losers.
Yes, and that's how they did it.
Yep. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say was that, just put that 2 cents in.
All right, Tim, thank you for listening. Appreciate you.
You bet. Take care, Kevin. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, more coming up next. Kevin Miller.
Every question of substance. And undecided voters seem to agree with that. They want Harris to get out there and explain her policies, but the vice president's allies and advisors don't see what the big deal is. Some arguing that she just doesn't have the time.
I have incredible confidence in both the Vice President and Governor Walz. They have shown that they are happy warriors. They are able to answer tough questions, and they are eager to get back into the debate.
She does not have to do it, Kara. I'm going to just cut to the chase. In fact, she's put out policies on her campaign website. Mm-hmm. Anybody who's truly interested can go and read about them.
She's done interviews, and I know that we would love, or you would love, to see her sit down every single day with CNN and do interviews, but she's a very busy person.
Harris is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. We have 2 choices, and so there are some things you might not know her answer to.
But a press conference or 2, it wouldn't hurt, right? Might even grease the wheels for a candidate who's a bit rusty when it comes to off-the-cuff chatter.
So there we have it. I love that the media continues to yap about that she won't do any interviews, and they continue to elevate her. Brian from Nampa has a rebuttal with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Brian.
Okay, Kevin, I am looking at a Form 4473. I'm under Section 21 that says you have to answer the following questions with either a yes or no. And then I'm on Section F, and it says, are you an unlawful user of, when, where, how, or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, a narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance. And then it says below that, warning, the use or possession of marijuana remains unlawful under federal law, regardless of whether it has been legalized or basically whether it's legal in your state or not. So, I don't see anything that says unlawful user. I disagree with this guy. I'm sorry, I've worked for the DOD, I've worked in the prison systems. If I marked no to that, and I had used marijuana in the past, and I have bought multiple firearms, Kevin, I have a lot of guns, I'm just saying, and you don't think that the federal government could come back to me if I marked no when I went on a radio and it's recorded and on YouTube of me saying, yes, I've smoked marijuana and inhaled it, and then about it. I'm sorry, I disagree with your last caller. Now, there might be a lot of people that have used marijuana that don't read that right and lie about it and get away with it. But I'm just saying, I have never used an illegal drug, Kevin. I've used medication from a doctor, so I can mark no on that question. But if you mark no on that and you've used it in the past, you really don't think if you kicked off the federal government, they wouldn't come and use that against you. Rules for thee, but not for me kind of thing?
Well, especially for Republicans. Can you imagine that?
Oh, yes, they would come after me with claws and teeth, and it's 15 years and up to $250,000, Kevin. So I don't agree with that caller. Now, it might be if you're a Democrat, but I would not chance that. I would not risk that. The lawyers would have a heyday with it. They left that open. It doesn't say, if you're a covered addict and you've been clean for 5 years, or you used it once when you were a kid, this doesn't apply. That is purposely left wide open. So the government either needs to fix how that's written, or I wouldn't risk it. They do this all the time. They're notorious for it. They will leave it open so they can catch you. So, hey, I got friends that smoke dope. You know what I tell them? Hey, you got to fill out that form. And if you lie on it, they can always come back even 20 years, 50 years later and say, hey, you admitted on a radio channel that you smoked dope once and you inhaled and you lied on this form. You don't think they're going to come after you. Really? Are you that naive? I can introduce you to a few inmates that I used to watch that violated less crime than that, Kevin. Just saying. Argue with me if you want. Good luck. Have a good day, Kevin. Love you.
Love you, Brian. Appreciate you. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you missed Donald Trump, he was somewhere across the country, I believe in Pennsylvania, talking about the fake news media and how they're not telling the truth.
Remember this. For a long time, she's been talking about her experience at McDonald's. I worked at McDonald's over the French fries. It was so hot. I think I'm going to go to a McDonald's next week someplace. I'm going to go. Might not be in your place. I'm going to go to a McDonald's, and I'm going to work the French fry job for about a half an hour. I want to see how it is. But she said she worked and she grew up in terrible conditions. She worked at McDonald's. It was such. She never worked there. And these fake news reporters will never report it. They don't want to report it because they're fake. They're fake. They don't want to report it. She never worked at McDonald's, but it was a big part of her resume. They went to the different places. Did she work here? Did she work here? Did she work here? She said, we don't know who the hell she is. Leave us alone. We're making hamburgers.
I'm going to go to the McDonald's next week, and I'm going to work the fry machine. The brilliance of Donald Trump. It's unfortunate that the libs don't get that. Liberals don't get that, unfortunately. But what a wonderful shot. Let's go to Anti-Mark in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Hey, little buddy. You was talking about the BSU football players getting paid.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Is that money coming from boosters, or is that actually taxpayer money? That's us taxpayers that are paying that salary.
It comes from boosters.
Oh, okay. So basically, wealthy or perceived wealthy boosters are paying it, not the taxpayers.
Right. But again, instead of donating to the university, they have to donate to pay the athletes' salaries now.
Okay, well that makes me feel a little better. I mean, if they got so much money and that's what they want to spend it on, it's like you get to a certain point in your life and you don't tell people how to spend their money, especially certain people, certain persuasions. It's like don't ever tell certain people how to spend their money, because they're always going to be right and you'll always be wrong.
Well, that's a weird deal, though. I mean, that's a lot of money to spend. Talk about disposable income.
Yeah, it must be like a big tax write-off form or something like that. Because people with the big money, they never really that philanthropy or whatever have you. It's never really about opening up your heart and giving money away. It's always about a tax break or a foundation where the money boomerangs around and comes right back to you some way or another.
Yeah, I don't know. They must just have a lot of money to burn. Because that's, coming up with this, that, and the other, that's a lot of money. So
since it's booster money then, and so I imagine there's not like a little website you can go to and see how much these payers are getting paid?
I would really love that type of transparency. I would. I don't think there is, though.
Okay, because like state employees, you can figure out. There's a website you can go to and see all the state employees, how much they get paid, what have you. Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day.
All right, appreciate you. Anti-Mark. Eric, the wild man from Kuna, Idaho. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they go, too bad Eric's married. This lady had a thing for you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
she goes, well, this is all about you. And I'm like, this really makes me uncomfortable. But and then I showed her a picture of you, and that didn't dissuade her. But you're a popular guy.
You're trying to tempt her with a picture of me?
She said, what does he look like? And I said, well, here he is.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I'm happily married. To what I had something else I wanted to talk about, but to what the last caller was talking about with that philanthropy, when you go to a lot of these places and they say, oh, would you like to round up to help this fund or that fund? What's kind of weird about that? Like companies like McDonald's and whoever.
Sure.
That's a free tax write-off for them, if you think about it, not even using their own money. So now I'm not saying don't give to the good causes and stuff like that, but these companies that do it, they ask for free money, and it becomes their money as a tax write-off. So that's kind of a scam if you think about it.
I always round up for the Ronald McDonald House.
I do too.
I know a lot of people that don't, that say, they're very skeptical of that.
Yeah, I have to. I don't go to McDonald's that much. It's really bad. It's industrial, bioengineered, yuck food. But occasionally I go there. It's still good. I like a quarter pounder occasionally. But what I wanted to say,
hold on. That's like the worst thing you can get on that menu.
Maybe so.
It's my favorite too, for obvious reasons. Look at my physique as opposed to yours, but I'm not trying to guilt you. I did some research on that, and that is like the worst thing that you can get is a quarter pounder with cheese. Who would have thought our beloved quarter pounder with cheese is bad for you?
Oh, it's all bad for you. And I'm starting to develop a little pooch. So I'm 51 years old. So
now we've disclosed that you have a pooch.
Whatever you want to call it, a little belly.
Yes.
I'm about maybe 2-3 months along or something. But, I really love that segment that you put together with the Miller Minute or whatever, with Kamala answering that question or trying to answer how you're going to lower the cost of living. I have seen her ask that question several times, and she never, ever answers it. You know, these moderators or whoever needs to say, stop, whoa, okay, that's not the question I ask. I don't want to hear about you grew up in a middle-class family and thanks for being here and Americans have aspirations and blah, blah, blah. It's such garbage. And I think that if Donald Trump were to, you know, call Kevin Miller and confer with him on a commercial to put together, not that his commercials are played very much. He's you know, shadow banned. But if he were to put together a segment of her trying to answer that question, it would be hilarious and it would really get the point across.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree. You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, what's weird is the media is really fueling their own demise because the more popular they make her, the more irrelevant they become. And if she gets elected without doing anything, you know, not kissing the knee or bending the knee to the libs, kissing the ring, watch out. And maybe it's because, you know, everything's digital now. People are going, I don't need to go on Face the Nation. I can go on, you know, Face the Book.
Right. I just don't understand how people are falling for it. It's just that hype. I mean, and people are really not very smart nowadays. So I do watch some videos, and there's this guy, he makes these videos. He's like in New York City and different places, and he asks these people really basic questions, like how many dimes make up $3? And you would not believe how many people can answer just basic questions like that. Like, what's the capital of the United States? People will say, like, Texas. I mean, people are really just stupid. I don't know. Maybe it's just this information technology has just totally washed out people's critical thinking skills. I don't know. It's just people are.
Well, it's people like you watching the videos, Eric. Shame on you. Shame. Know your name.
Speaking of videos,
yes.
There's a video. Now, I sent it to you in
really?
Messenger, and somebody, yes, you've got to watch it. It's a Gavin Newsom commercial that somebody put together, and it is absolutely hilarious. It's kind of it's satire, but it's his voice, and he's talking about what he's done for California, and it shows like all the homeless camps and then it shows during COVID, and then it talks about him signing that bill that the state can take your children if you don't agree with transition surgery. It's a very well put together satire commercial. I think it should be played nationwide.
I'm going to look for that.
Yeah, it's in Messenger. It's hilarious. You got to watch it.
Eric, thank you for the call. Thank you for listening, sir.
Hey, thank you, brother. I love it. You're the best.
We love you. You are the best. Speaking Plumbing brings you Fox News on your home for Fox News. Well, where do we go from here? Loading up a story here concerning the FCC. I know a lot of people are very worried about the future of radio. If you missed it, and that's why we have the podcast. And we can tell you we have all these analytics, and analytics are great when things are going right. When things are going not so right, you don't trust the analytics, right? But I'm sitting here looking at the analytics of people that are listening to this program from all parts of the country. And obviously, there are some places that they have radio that's really good and others where they don't. And some people just want something different, like our friends that listen across the country and everything else. But this is something you're probably not going to hear anywhere else. And I know a lot of you have brought this up. And this is the FCC fast-tracking George Soros. He's buying a group of radio stations, 220 radio stations, reaching 165 Americans before Election Day. Now, again, George Soros is a liberal, but I believe he's a capitalist at first. And as we talked about before, Soros is on his way out. I guess he's still active. Why? I don't know. But his kid, Junior, is only 38, and he's very active, and he's going to marry Anthony Weiner's ex-wife, Uma Ahmadine. And Uma has aged well, number one. Number two, but you're looking at because of mismanagement, because of other things, this radio group called Odyssey, which was part of an old company that I used to work for, CBS Radio. They're about ready to be purchased by George Soros. And there are other companies that are very fearful, that aren't doing well financially, that are very fearful that Soros would come in. Now, it is fascinating to look at because on one hand you have Soros, who is going to buy a company that is going to try and take out this other large company called iHeartMedia, which you hear Clay and Buck play and work for all the time. You might have known them as Clear Channel Communications. So they're in bed with Ted Cruz, who was trying to block this deal, but proving that elections have consequences. Now this approval will happen. This radio company, Odyssey, will come out of bankruptcy, and I think George Soros will have 3 or 4 seats on the board. And a friend of mine the other day, because, look, we all love radio, commenting on this. This is going to be woke. This is going to be this. And what are you going to do? Prevent Mr. Soros from buying the radio stations? Nobody else wants them. You have a lot of mismanagement, unfortunately. A lot of good people that I know work for that company. Let's hope that he doesn't mess with conservative talk radio. But the FCC, which is, no friend of Kevin Miller, let's listen to the vote.
You've indicated there's a transaction where a Soros-backed group would take ownership of over 200 radio stations across 40 different markets after the FCC originally indicating that transaction could be reviewed and approved at the bureau level without a commission vote. It's now become clear that is a decision before the full commission, and it's one that I would assume now or in the near future the commission would approve. I think what's interesting about it is that the FCC here is not following its normal process for reviewing a transaction. We have established over a number of years one way in which you can get approval from the FCC when you have in excess of 25% foreign ownership, which this transaction does. And it seems to me that the FCC is poised to create, for the first time, an entirely new shortcut.
Yeah, thank you. As you pointed out here and previously, these proceedings for transfer of ownership have been expedited. What exactly makes this case so deserving of an expedited proceeding so far, from what you could tell?
There is nothing about this transaction that is out of the ordinary. It's the type of thing that we see all the time, and the FCC has a process for this. The full commission itself has never signed off on a shortcut like this. What we usually do is we require people to file a petition with us. We bring in national security agencies. They can review the foreign ownership. It's probably no big deal here, but we review that foreign ownership, and then we vote. Here, they're trying to do something that's never been done before at the commission level.
Well, coming to a place near you, and if Soros gets control of Odyssey, he'll probably get control of other companies. Like I said, it doesn't mean that that's the end of conservative talk radio. Conservative talk radio makes a lot of money. It's very lucrative. But this company has been in bankruptcy for quite some time. Odyssey, we're not owned by Odyssey or any of the other folks. And again, we're not speaking ill of them. We're reporting the news of the FCC and the debate going on. But again, going behind the scenes, Ted Cruz and the other company, iHeartMedia, are trying to do their very best to stop this move. And I'm thinking to myself, well, then maybe Rupert Murdoch, maybe the Koch brothers, maybe somebody should, buy those radio stations. Mark, the watchdog in Eagle, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kevin. I got a really big, serious question to ask you. How come you politely call Marxists, progressive globalists, socialists, how come you call them liberals? They resemble nothing of the liberals of the 60s or 50s.
Liberal!
Or even before then.
Liberal!
Why would you call George Soros a liberal? I mean, if you look at the definition of what a liberal is, it's nothing what George Soros is. You have websites right left, whether it's the ones I look at or other people look at, that are against Kamala, refer to her as having Marxist ideology, not liberal, Marxist. We are afraid, it seems like, on conservative talk radio to sometimes use the appropriate term for those that are doing things that resemble Marxism, socialism, communism. So Soros is one of them. And by the way, did you hear that good old the IRS union has backed Kamala Harris? Doesn't that make you feel warm and cozy inside? Yeah, the same one used as a weapon by the Obama Nation administration to go after conservative people and groups out there. Also, you wonder why you don't hear much out of Harris's mouth. In fact, you don't hear anything. We all wonder. Harris doesn't come up with anything on policy. You know why? Because she's a little stooge of the globalist New World Order. She's another Keir Starmer from England, the prime minister over there, who, by the way, I found out the guy is a atheist, okay? I may be an agnostic, but I do believe in higher things out there on the good side. I do believe things in the dark side. I mean, we're seeing it now in our political system here in our banana republic for voting. So, but yeah, good old Keir Starmer over there, the prime minister, is an atheist. So, Kamala, whatever you want to call her, she is just waiting to do the bidding. She's going to be another stooge, just like Biden was, a dumb halfwit, a village idiot to do the bidding of the globalist socialist deep state that is going to put her in power. And she'll be dictated to as to what she needs to do to us to ruin this country and send us, again, into oblivion and destroy this nation from within, which we were warned back about, 250 years ago by a couple of founding fathers, if I recall correctly. But no, I really wonder why you use the term.
That's the term I use. That's the term I'm comfortable with. I think a lot of people, when you go Marxist, this, that, and the other, it's tune out.
You're being too polite to them and not calling them what they are.
Well, there are a lot of things.
Calls them as you sees them, and they're definitely not liberals. So
yeah, well, hold on. How many other people call anybody liberal on Idaho radio?
Yeah, well.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Mark. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberal Steve. Good morning, Liberal Steve. It seemed like a good idea at the time. All right, let's get back to your calls at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We were talking a little bit more about the vice president not doing any media appearances. I guess she's a very, very busy person.
Saw Vice President Harris at the rally today in Georgia. She's going to be in Wisconsin tonight. Yet she's not sitting down for regular interviews or fielding questions from the press. Certainly not to the degree that her counterpart Donald Trump is. Why? Why is she not doing more interviews to talk about her policies and answer some of the questions that voters have about her policies and on her change on her views in some of them?
Well, Jack, she's done interviews, and I know that we would love, or you would love, to see her sit down every single day with CNN and do interviews, but she's a very busy person. She's the vice president as well as a candidate, and we heard her today talk about her views on these policies. It may not be in the format that the media would like. It may not be that she's sitting down doing a one-on-one interview, but we heard her today in Georgia talk about her stance on reproductive freedom and how, if she's elected as president of the United States, how she will use the power of the pen to make sure that these freedoms are protected. And this is a really big conversation across the country, and especially here in Georgia, where we have this 6-week abortion ban. And
I don't get, she just doesn't answer the question. Why not say, I'm not talking to the media? Captain Harry, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Hello.
Top of the morning, Kevin. Yes, sir. That she don't want to say what she wants to say because her track record is not good at what she said in the past. And as far as liberals and all this work, the bottom line, you're a commie. She's a commie. It's easy and short, and that nitpicking about why do you call him this and why do you call him that? Come on, give me a break. She's a commie, and that's the bottom line, and people better wake up. And she'll say whatever she has to say or change whatever she has said just to try to fool you to get your vote. And I hope that people are paying a little bit of attention. And And they're trying to buy all these radio stations because you're doing such a good job, Kevin. They want to shut you up and shut us up, and don't let it happen, people. Got to stand up, and now if you're ever going to talk now. So that's all I got to say, and thank you for your time. I'll be standing by.
All right, thank you very much, Captain Harry. One more time for this guy on KIDO Talk Radio with Liberal Steve. Good morning.
Well, I don't know. I think that conservative political party tried to shut me down. What do you think?
I think it was operator error on your part, which happens quite a bit.
Oh, no. Well, I just want Mark and Eagle to know that there'll be one child born, and he'll be born a liberal.
Are you a Marxist?
I'm an American. Do you love America, Kevin?
I do love America. By the way, Mark from Eagle says that the liberals are Marxists. So you're a Marxist, Leninist, Zionist, whatever? I don't know.
Mark, you've been drinking too much of that heterosexual water. That's all there is to it.
Would you go to the old State Saloon in Eagle?
Sure, I'd go there.
With your pink toenails and all that?
You're darn right. You're darn right I would.
Is there a purpose to this call? Were you lonely?
You asked me a question.
Do you want to hear a rap?
I got my man coming on right now. Stimulating talk. He knows how. Mayhem in the AM is his battle cry. He rebuked Obama. They said goodbye. He goes by the name of Miller K. 580 AM. He'll show you the way. 6 to 10. He's on the mic. Conservative talk. I guarantee you'll like. I said 1, 2, 3, 4. Miller K. What are you waiting for? Word.
Can you top that?
369, the goose drank wine, the monkey chewed tobacco on the streetcar line. The line broke, the monkey got choked. Kevin Miller and all his crazy buddies went to heaven.
I think that was the worst rap ever.
Well, I'm going to go back to being a heterosexual, bisexual, homosexual, LGBT good guy. And Mark, don't drink the water in Eagle. Stay out of the club.
Did you want to teach us how to pronounce the vice president's name? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, it's comma. It's comma, like comma in a sentence.
Kamala?
It's Kamala.
Kamala?
Just C-O-M-A and then L-A. So for Right to Life and all you idiots out there that think you're cool by mispronouncing, and that's a terrible thing. That's the rudest thing you can do is to mispronounce somebody's name after you know how to pronounce it. So that makes you rude, disgusting, and terrible. Kamala.
That's not really nice.
Kamala.
By the way, Bo, we're going to have to grab, he did a couple raps that we're going to have to use, by the way, where he's describing himself as an LGBTQ, and then he did a Miller rap, so.
Darn right. How do they say it? How's the Mountain Home Dougie say it? Flaming liberal. You go and smoke their pot and eat their caviar.
So they can play in their freaking garden, smoke their pot, drink their fancy wine, and eat their caviar like the liberals do.
And I had to go to the hospital and have something done to me, and it was one, and nurses were lesbians, and the guys were all homosexuals.
Did you go to a gay hospital? Is there such thing as was a big rainbow outside?
Once they put you out, Doug, they had their way with you.
Now that's not nice.
I know that's not nice, but Doug, you got to get a life.
That actually sounds like the voice of experience.
No, you have to be LDS to have the voice of experience. According to Brian, you have to be related to everything that ever was, including Adam and Eve. Well, I was there when Eve took the apple. This is one of my direct descendants. Brian from Napa. Where's my gun, Bobby? Where's my gun? You stay fired up, Miller. I can't take it anymore.
He actually talked himself out.
Have you ever gone over a friend's house to eat and the food just ain't no good? I mean, the macaroni soggy, the peas are mushed, and the chicken tastes like wood. So you try to play it off while you think you stand by to saying that you're full. And your friend says, Mama, he's just being polite. He ain't finished. That's full. So So your heart starts pumping and you think of a lie and you say that you already ate. And your friend says, man, there's plenty of food. So we pile some more on the plate. Well, the sticky food steaming and mind starts to dreaming of the moment it's time to leave. And then you look at your plate and your chicken slowly rotten and it's something that looks like cheese. Should I keep on going, Kevin? I'm going to bore your audience.
I have tried so much when I'm walking, and I fumble after 3 words with that. That is brilliant. There we have it, Idaho Ian. We appreciate him and Liberal Steve. Still have time for more calls at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. A couple other things here going on. Are you a big fan of Janet Jackson? You remember her? Didn't you have that song that your parents or grandparents, or no, not your great-grandparents, but your parents, at least your parents, maybe your grandparents listened to? Remember that song, Nasty? Nasty Girls? Well, and again, as John Deere could be moving to Mexico. By the way, if you're somebody who works for John Deere or any type of agricultural place, why in the world would you vote for the Harris ticket is beyond me. But John Deere announcing they're going to move their tractor factory to Mexico. Donald Trump saying, not so fast, my friend. So now we have this latest controversy involving Janet Jackson, who was asked about the vice president. And she said she's not black. And then everybody piled on Janet Jackson, and Janet Jackson, who used to sing that song, Nasty Girls. Well, I guess she recanted. Thankfully, we have the purveyor of truth and all racial equality from MSNBC's Joy Reid gives us the details.
Okay, let's talk about Janet Jackson's escapade. And no, not the song.
Oh!
When the singer was asked about the prospect of America electing a black woman president, she said of Harris, quote, well, you know what they supposedly said? She's not black. That's what I heard, that she's Indian. Her father's white. That's what I was told. I was told that they discovered her father was white.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not true. But those words do echo Trump saying that Harris.
I love that, her brilliant term of escapade. Another great song by Janet Jackson. No, her name isn't Janice Jackson. It's Janet Jackson, Sweet William. Now, pardon me while I talk to Concern and Emmett on KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you for the call, sir. Concern?
Are you there?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. Just another thing to try to divide people. You know, the whole, what does it matter what you are, black or white or Indian or whatever she is? Why do we always got to put that out there? I just wanted to call about, being an American. Right now we have so many people in this country that, in my book, are not Americans. If I put myself in a garage, I'm not a car. And if I walk into China for a couple of times, doesn't make me Chinese. And these people that come here and vote, or they want them to vote, and some of them even do vote and get away with it. The whole citizenship thing, it's like you have, in order to be an American, you have to understand our Constitution and stuff. And I know I keep on harping this, but it just seems people just can't realize that we have other people in other countries voting and destroying our country slowly, and just what's going on. Pretty soon, China's going to be in Mexico before we know it, and Venezuela and all them countries because of this Biden administration, and people just are not thinking. And I just hope they wake up, Lord. And that's all I can say. But just wake up and do the education and figure things out, and you'll be enlightened if you just find the right answers. Thanks, Kevin, for your show.
Oh, I'm sorry, Concern. Please go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you're right about that. We're trying to find the answers. And, another thing is, if people are looking for something good to do in Emmett, what can you do?
Well, Emmett, we have a lot of rodeos and a lot of car shows and little derbies. We have demolition derbies at the thing. And actually, it's getting kind of overwhelmed. We used to be able to go there and sit on the bench and pay your $5, $10 to get in there. But now it's getting more and more popular at our fairgrounds. They do a lot of activities there, and unfortunately, a lot of them I got to miss because I'm busy doing other things. But lots of rodeos, lots of action, cars, mud bogs, not mud bogs, but tractor pulls. They have it all there, and it gets pretty exciting sometimes. So,
it's like America.
Yep. Step back in time here a little bit. The way Boise used to be is now in Emmett. So.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Concern. You take care.
You too. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. Back to Joy Reid, who's going to Break down Janet Jackson. No, her name isn't Janice. It's Janet. Trust me.
Magically turned black. And yet it gets worse. When Jackson was later pressed whether she thinks America is prepared to see Harris in office, she said, I think either way it goes is going to be mayhem. Either way. Jackson's comments generated outrage online until a credited producer on her upcoming documentary walked it back. Before that person was seemingly fired, leaving it unclear whether Ms. Jackson still believes that Kamala Harris isn't black and really is willing to tell her billions of fans that there's no difference between Harris and Trump. It's a weird sequence of events, but Jackson is not alone. There's a host of celebrities who have made bizarre comments in actual support of Trump, who have long depended on endorsements from celebrities and Manoverse influencers, mostly because reputable experts in political...
You know, it's funny, though. John Deere could be leaving the country. And I don't know how many times when you see the green and the yellow of John Deere, you just go, man, I love John Deere. And we're talking about this great economy and how wonderful it is and all sorts of nonsense that we have a major manufacturer leaving the country and we're focused on what a pop singer said. Well, of course they want to muddy the waters because when we go toe-to-toe with them on the issues that matter to you, to me, to God, to the Republic, they lose. And that's what's at stake. It's very easy to be depressed, but look, we live in the greatest country, the greatest state. We have the right political thought. Our thought process is so big, so popular, everybody wants to be a conservative. Do you have what it takes? God bless you. Keep the faith, and don't forget Claim Buck next. Kevin Miller loves you. Good day.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Fred Meyer. For thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Fred Meyer, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.